start our introduction to ethics first class. Okay. So what we are going to do today is we are going to try to understand what is the basic framework of ethics. Basic framework. We will try to understand what is the exam pattern. We will try to understand what will be our strategy. Okay. What else is there? Any other points? I'll come to it. Answer writing skills. This is the most important part. If you want, you can take running notes. Otherwise, I'll send this PDF to you also in the end. Okay. No issues. today we are not running after knowledge. अच्छा किछि पिला जो नुआ ethics class रे join करछ for them I am going to explain this basic thing to you. आम GS पिलांकर ए जिंस विषय आइडिया अछि. What is this thing? What is ask? Anyone? Attitude, skill and knowledge. Okay. So to excel in exam you need these three things. So this first class is more about skill and a little bit of attitude. About knowledge, the rest of the classes will be on knowledge. In the sense कि इतने हमें content develop करिया. Okay, I'll give you notes. We'll discuss everything. So this is knowledge. Skill is how to write a good answer, to understand what this paper is all about, and attitude is how you are going to attempt the questions. In GS classes, we have discussed in detail. We have discussed many answer writing skills also. But for the time being, we will discuss a few points. Key ethics ro kemiti answer likhiya. First of all, so today we are not discussing knowledge. Today we are going to discuss skill. Okay. So first of all, if you see what is the basic framework of ethics, ethics amaro UPSC pattern first time by UPSC introduce ହେଇଛି. So whatever standard we are seeing in UPSC, we will assume ki almost same standard or maybe slightly lower level standard will be asked by UPSC. Think about, okay, चलो हमें assume करना है कि almost same standard UPSC standard नहीं पचारी. Because if you see even UPSC when it introduced first, if you see gradually how the level has slowly increased. You see the initial year questions when ethics was first time introduced, and you see the level of ethical questions which are being asked recently, you'll see the difference. Starting रे कौन होतला बहुत basic जिनसा पचरा होतला. Starting रे पचरा होतला what is attitude, what is crisis of conscience. Okay. ये सब बने basic सब terminology, terms, definitions, examples. We will do these also. ये सबुतरे हमें ये सब जिनसा लिखियो. But the point is, recently it is getting much and more complicated. Now they are asking bit more complex questions. If you see the question itself will be 2-3 line no question thiyo, then actually tomorrow keywords asiyo. So they will say ki this quotation is saying this and that. In this context you analyze this thing. Okay. For example, they will say ki it is often said that where does ethics come from? That ethics comes from people themselves. Do you agree this statement or not? Justify. Okay. So एमिदे आगो वाला question है कि explain what is ethics or discuss about ethics or ethical explain about ethical dilemma. ये वाला simple question है नहीं. So we will go to that level, UPSC level, and we will prepare. So this level is very basic level, and this level is a bit more applied level or higher level. Okay. This will be our goal. So for that, how will you understand to which level we want to go? So we'll go through, we will see some UPSC PYQs every day after every ethics classes, I will give you 2 to 3 such PYQs, try to write them. Again, initially, by the way, I'm a GS students, I want to tell you कि I had advised you initially कि initially you are free to search करके सब research करके सब जहाँ पर you can write it, है कि नहीं? Starting में तुमको कहती कि Google, you are free to Google and everything. But since 1 week around has lapsed, so I suggest कि right now you should not research anymore. Ebe nije completely own by on your own write everything. Okay. Many of you are writing, I can see that. But some of you are, if you are copy pasting or if you are seeing something, then again writing the same thing, then you should not do it. And now is the time you should write on your own. So on your own, जब लिखा start करो, ठीक है, quality ठीक है, low रहेगा initially, that is fine. But you will learn, you will start to learn, you will make mistakes and you will start to learn. Initially ମୋର ଏଇଟା କହିବାର point ଏଇଆ ଥିଲା କି ତମ mental block କିଛି ନ ରହୁ, you should start writing. Some people would do what କି ସେମାନେ wait କରିବେ କି ଆମର ସବୁ course ସରିଲା ପରେ ଯାଇକି ଆମେ answer writing କରିବୁ. That should not be the case. Okay, if you do this, that perfect moment will not come. If you are waiting କି ମୋର ସବୁ ସରିଯିବ ମୁଁ ସବୁ ପଢିଦେବି ତାପରେ ଯାଇକି answer ଲେଖିବି कि पूरा stars aligned ହେଲା ପରେ ଯାଇକି answer ଲେଖିବି, that day, perfect day will not come. So you have to start with imperfection. Okay, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
So we are talking about pattern. What is the pattern of, what will be the pattern of your exam? So GS4 initially तुम्हारा एमितिया तीनटा डे रे कंटीन्यूअस जदी यूपीएससी एंटायरली यूपीएससी शेड्यूल भलिया हला एमितिया हबो फर्स्ट डे रे एसए रहइबो, सेकंड डे रे GS1 GS2, थर्ड डे रे रहइबो GS3 and GS4. My point of saying this is, again we have discussed this in the GS answer writing class also, but again I am repeating here the challenge would be initially एसए पई तो चलो जहा पढि देलो सब हेगला, GS1 टा भी तो ठीक ठाक जीवो if you have covered most of the things. GS2 and GS4 are specifically challenging, and GS3 also, in the sense कि तुमको revise करने को enough time मिलेगा, because once the exam starts, after this day you will be exhausted, completely exhausted. Next day पे किसी नथियो revise करेगु, you will only have that much energy to just go to home, eat, sleep, again wake up next day and go to get ready for the exam. So the challenge will come कि due to lack of time तुम revision पे जेहेतु totally time मिलिबनी. So what I suggest कि because our classes are going like this, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday दिन अन्य दिन से अच्छी, then Thursday again नहीं, Friday. So the time that you have, in this time you should analyze and revise whatever is being taught in the previous class. Again for the same, and you should keep on writing. Otherwise I'm telling you कि revision पे last को बहुत बेसी time रहे नहीं, पिलाने panic करते. But however I have developed one basic framework वाला PDF अच्छी, से PDF टा मु थोड़ा share करतली group रे भी. If you want you can take a print out of that. I will also provide maybe two 3 pages आओ extra किसी material भी देबी. When I'm saying entire ethics रो PDF ना, sorry, entire ethics रो framework, ये PDF टा पूरा central तुम्हारा गोटे framework वाला काम करियो, on which you can come up with many other ideas. So at least what you should do कि ए break रे से राति रे at least ए जो PDF टा 4-5 पेज रो PDF टा definitely थोड़ा revise करके ଯିବ. Okay, ଆଉ ଯାହା ନିଜର note revise କରୁଛ ନ କରୁଛ, ଏଇ note ଟା final ଥରେ ଦେଖିକି ଯିବ. Okay, so I will provide you that thing also. This is the golden nugget of ethics. Now what is the paper like? The paper is divided into two parts. One part is section A, another part is section B. Okay. Section A is what we call theory, or sometimes some people also call it static. Section B is something known as case study. What's the distribution of marks for this? Practically almost 50%, 50-50. Okay, so that means you approximately have 1.5 hours for this and 1.5 hours for this. However, I will advise you, and how should you do this? See, now the question will come कि आमे ना overall strategy विषय टिके discuss करूँ. How you should attempt in the exam hall. What some people do is कि some people will say ମୁଁ आगो case study attempt कर देबी, then ମୁଁ theory टा लिखी. Or some people say कि आमे theory रो गोटे question करिया, तापरे case study गोटे करिया, पुनी theory करिया, पुनी case study करिया. But different people have different strategies. I will suggest you a few things that you can do. ये सब जिनसा देखो सेमती किसी नोट मिलियोनी तुमको आज भी जहाँ कहूँ if you want you should take down running notes. Otherwise last moment रे please panic करी कि एग्जाम राति पे एमती हुए किसी पिला मत पूरा एग्जाम जस्ट पूर्व दिन panic करी कि मैसेज कॉल मैसेज करंदी पूरा स्पेसिफिक वन सर प्रथमे कोठू स्टार्ट करियो पार्ट ए रू ना पार्ट बी रू. At the time feel कि यार तुमे 6 मास धरि करूथिलो कोन. So please don't do such kind of things. माने I'm not saying कि it's ताकर genuine doubt अछि, but you try to understand from the beginning. If you don't understand what is going to be your strategy, last minute रे कहीं तुम भलो strategy देले भी you will not be able to implement it in a good way. Okay, so for that I want कि तुम पूरा complete mental clarity रहो. From day one you should have absolute mental clarity what I am going to do. I had told you this thing, I had given you an example that in the exam hall if I am going to write something, if I know that there will not be enough time to complete this paper, so I have to be very alert. Before even the paper comes, I will be ready with my pen on hand, और सामने रे टेबल ऊपर मोर वॉच थियो एवरीथिंग वुड बी रेडी 100% ready to go. Okay, when the question paper will be given, you should start scribbling. I had told you this or not? Absolutely start scribbling on the question paper. जहाँ question देखो key terms रो देखी ताको scribble करो, ठीक है, brainstorm करो. We have discussed all of these things, all of these tricks that most people don't know. Don't do it. People will do what? ସେମାନେ आराम से बसी क्वेश्चन पढ़िया स्टार्ट करिए कि चला हमें बुझिया पूरा भल से पेपर का. You don't have that luxury. It's not an essay paper even. So you have to be 100% ready. सही level of mental clarity रहेगा दरकार. Okay. So for that I'm trying to explain to you कि what should be your strategy. From now on, if you want to change anything, you can also change it. मुझे advice दूँ 100% এটা करिया दरकार नहीं. But you decide from now on. Now on मैंने मैं कहूँ कि आज ही immediately. In the sense कि maybe within this month or by the end of January you should decide कि okay, I'm going to do this and don't deviate from that plan. Okay. So what are we going to do? How are you going to approach? My advice for you is कि first do the theory part. Starting रे एक number question number 1 नु तुम करी चला किसी असुविधा नहीं. And second part को रखो case study पे. But one thing you have to remember कि don't allocate 1.5 hours for this. How much you should allocate? 1.5 माने कौन 90 minutes. 90 minutes allocate न करी around 80 minutes allocate करो यहाँ पे. And यहाँ पे extra time रखो. What is the reason? ଆମେ ଏଟା ବି GS ରେ discuss କରିଥିଲୁ. What is the reason? Can anyone tell me?
mental fatigue.
Mental fatigue, physical fatigue ସବୁ ହେଇଯିବ. Mental blocks ସେ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ବି ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଆସିବ. Although
ଆଉ
initially
ସାର୍ ଆଉ
चलो
ଗୋଟେ
ଆଉ
କଥା ହେଲା ଯେ
yes yes
ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡରାଇଟିଂ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ହବ, ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟେସନ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ହବ, ଇମ୍ପ୍ରେସନ ଭଲ ଆସିବ.
yes initially भी that is also another factor कि initially तुम्हारा handwriting ଭଲ ଥାଏ. And copy evaluator तो केबे भी middle of your copy ରୁ start करियो ना. He or she will start from the beginning itself, question number 1 itself. So what will happen if you are starting from case study? Okay. Let us say the theory usually 1A 1B ଏଭଳିଆ यूपीएससी ରେ ଆସୁଛି up to 6A 6B I think है ना. ମୋର exactly ମନେ ପଡୁନି କେତେଟା ନମ୍ବର 12ଟା ବିଟ୍ I think 6ଟା क्वेश्चन ଏମିତିଆ କଣ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ क्वेश्चन ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ଥାଏ ସରି 13. Okay. And case study ରେ କଣ ହବ ତାପରେ 7 8 9 10 ଏମିତିଆ start ହେଇଯିବ. So they will not start from question number 7, they will come from question number 1A. If you are writing from case study चलो initially तुम handwriting बहुत ଭଲ ଅଛି एथरे भी ଟିକେ खराब deteriorate हबो तापर एठो तो start करियो तो एते ଭଲ नथियो. So when the examiner is starting from this point, he or she will be irritated कि यार कौन ये लिखा start करछि एमती. Okay. Second point is also when you are starting case study, remember case study is it's really time consuming, बहुत time consuming. Okay. ଗୋଟେ case study को बहुत अधिका time माने तुम यदि आगुरु case study लिखिना तो बहुत time ଯିବ. So एमिति भी हम practice करिया एई सब क्लास रे हमें प्रथम theory लिखिया तापर case study भी सब practice करिया. But in the exam hall what will happen कि initially तुमर जेहेतु ଟିକେ defensive mindset थिबो कि मु किछि भूल जिंस लिखिबिनी. So case study रे भी ଟିକେ अधिका time consuming ହେଇଯିବ तापर last रो panic करियो. So my advice for you is कि start with theory part, give less time 10 minutes less, 80 minutes रे target करो, accordingly divide माने गोटे क्वेश्चन को केते मिनिट रे लिखियो एंड केस स्टडी को भी सही अनुसार सेती टाइम डिवाइड करो अज्यूमिंग कि एटा भी ऑलमोस्ट 90 मिनिट्स रे लिखुछ. 10 मिनिट्स हाथ रे रखता 5 मिनिट्स तुम रजिस्ट्रेशन माने रजिस्टर रे लेखा लिखि करियो और लास्ट 5 मिनिट्स मु कहदिली लास्ट 5 मिनिट इज टोटली इल्यूजन, पूरा इल्यूजनरी. ये लास्ट 5 मिनिट केमती उडी जियो तुम जाना पड़िबो एंड एथरे किछि माइंड भी ब्लैंक हो जाए. So 10 minutes हम पाखरे नाही कहया को. We will assume that and we will write accordingly. Okay. So this should be our strategy. माने देखो एटा आज सेमती स्ट्रेटजी रो लास्ट क्लास बोली किछि नो. Again we will माने मझरा में हम डिस्कस करू भी बहुत सारा जिंस डिस्कस करियो, no issues. But I'm telling you from the beginning you should have that mental clarity how you are going to approach this exam. Okay. Any doubts so far?
Okay.
Okay. Then what else? Okay.
सर गोटे सिंपल डाउट हाँ
हाँ.
जहाँकि हमें जो क्लास रे जहाँ भी रनिंग रूम नौଛୁ तो ताकू सुडी आपने कहले गोटे दिन गैप अछि तो ताकू आउ करे माने टिके ऑर्गेनाइज्ड वे आउ गोटे माने माइक्रो नोट बनै दु कि माने से
You don't have the luxury. Okay.
ओके
The crash course itself means you don't have the luxury. एटा तुम फाउंडेशनल कोर्स रे ए सब जिंस चिंता कर परता. एबे तुमको 3 मास और 2 मंथ्स भी जेति की लागु छी 2 मास केमिति आजियो तुमको जाना पड़िबे. इनिशियली एपर्यंत आम से स्पीड पिकअप करनु जीएस अन्य सब्जेक्ट जो इकोनॉमी क्लास फॉर एग्जांपल नेक्स्ट वीक रू स्टार्ट हम you'll see with which speed this will go तुम कौन कर बहुत धीरे धीरे एथिक्स रो स्टार्ट करियो से गोटे चैप्टर में भी नोट बनै थियो तापर बहुत जिंस जीएस रो अन्य जिंस पेंडिंग हे जिवा प्लस आई डोंट नो हाउ मच टाइम यू आर गिविंग टू द ऑप्शनल बट यू शुड डेफिनेटली गिव सम सब्सटेंशियल अमाउंट आमे टाइम बॉक्सिंग विषय अनदर ट्रिक विषय कथा हितना जीएस क्लास में इफ यू सी द टाइम बॉक्सिंग एंटायर मु होची इवनिंग टा तो हमर जीएस रे जाउची ओके चलो हम क्लास सरला पर इफ यू आर राइटिंग आंसर्स इमीडिएटली दैट इज आल्सो फाइन इवनिंग टा जीएस रे जाउची आउ दुटा मॉर्निंग और आफ्टरनून जो टाइम बॉक्सिंग अच्छी सो ये जो दुटा टाइम ब्लॉक को you should devote at least one of those time blocks to your optional plus something else maybe a language paper or something then you have another time box to GS रो अन्य सब्जेक्ट जोटा हमर एठी पढ़ा भी जाउ नै अन्य सब सब्जेक्ट on your own you can study this and if you are working professional then तो चलो तुम पाखरे एती टाइम भी नहीं you only have this much time so on the alternative days की जो दिन weekend से जो दिन हम क्लास हो नहीं then you should definitely study optional तुम पाखरे टाइम केते अछि कि आउरी बसी नोट डाउन करियो don't have that time so whatever class note is being given use that to the max and I'm telling you you see again this diagram whether you clear this exam or not will not depend on your knowledge I'm repeating again whether you clear or not clear this exam will not absolutely depend on the knowledge it will depend on skill and attitude knowledge is only the basis ମୁଁ कहूनी कि knowledge पूरा जीरो था कि क्लियर कर दो knowledge तो जाले डेवलप हो क्लास रे हमें तो पूरा एंटायर कोर्स रे knowledge ही डेवलप करिया बहुत सारा but skill and attitude is much more important okay so note टा माने कोन note माने तुम knowledge पछरे बढौछ ମୁଁ तुमको କିଛି knowledge पछरे ଯିବା ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ whatever is being taught in the class that will be enough okay
ओके सर।
now let's come to this part answer writing for ethics again today we are going developing only skills okay now tell me हमें जीएस रे बहुत सारा स्किल एमती डेवलप करथिलु most of these skills from GS will also apply in ethics absolutely apply there is no issues you can use brainstorming କିଛି ଗୋଟେ क्वेश्चन आसु नाही छाड़ीबार नाही गोटे सिंगल क्वेश्चन छाड़ीबार नाही दिस इज द चैंपियन माइंडसेट वी आर डिस्कसिंग एटीट्यूड पूरा कंप्लीटली रैंडम क्वेश्चन आसु बहुत डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन आसु okay 99% people will leave it but you are not in the 99% you are my students you are under 1% you will not leave it suppose question कौन आसला देखो suppose question आसला कि गोटे बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट वाला क्वेश्चन आसला suppose question आसला कि the play of Sophocles called Antigone shows the ethical dilemma of moral relativism. Discuss. तुम कह कौन प्ले ऑफ सफोकल्स मत जाना नहीं एंटीगोन कौन मत जाना नहीं मुझे किसी न जाना था you know these keywords ethical dilemma moral relativism suppose you don't know what this means you apply ଗୋଟେ general sense ରେ apply करो moral relativism कोडू आछि relative रू आछि तो something which is morally or ethically relative and something which is an ethical dilemma so what we are going to do is कि आमे हमर standard formula पकेबा ethical dilemma moral relativism okay then you think moral relativism relative in the moral sense means जनक ପାଇଁ ठीक जनक ପାଇଁ भूल so think of any examples that you can think of any case studies think of how you can even define it पूरा confidently हमको define करियार अछि देखो मु केमते आबे define करूछी आमे कहया कि moral relativism refers to the idea of morality being different for different stakeholders or parties to an ethical dilemma देखो I made it up right on the spot you start with this definition then you think of lots of ethical dilemmas then you think of moral relativism example कौन है परे जनक पे ठीक हबो जिनसटा जनक पे भूल हबो or relatively कहया को बोले which will be something more ethical so which will be less ethical. You can write all of these things and then you can connect these things. हमें brainstorming रे इस जिनस डिस्कस करथिलु कि नहीं, how to come up with difficult answers to difficult questions. So I'm telling you, you will not leave a single question. 99% people are going to leave this question, but you are not in that 99%. Okay, so this is the attitude part. Now how are you going to write these things? My point was that GS रो जहाँ जहाँ हमें ट्रिक सिखलु स्किल सिखलु से सब स्किल हमें इतने भी यूज करियो, but apart from that we also have some subject specific skills. What are the subject specific skills? Let's discuss them one by one. First point is key ethics, try to understand it will derive from a lot of the things that essay derived from. So you can write from philosophy, you can write from sociology, you can write from psychology, no? You can also write from your own experience, although don't overdo it. You can write from, you can write stories, you can write case studies, examples. You should actually write. Okay, but point is GS रे आमे कोन GS 1 2 3 रे सब जिंस करि पार नथि. GS 1 2 3 आमे केस स्टडी एग्जांपल दउ, आमे एथरे भी एथिक्स रे भी दउ. एसे रे आमे फिलोसॉफी सोशियोलॉजी साइकोलॉजी सब थ्रू आनथु, एथिक्स रे भी आनिबु. If you have any other optional specific knowledge भी अछि, you can even write that also, unless you have an optional like maybe mathematics physics तो एथरू तो चलो किछि आसीबन. But in general if you have any humanities वाला optional then you should definitely bring your knowledge to it. If you have literature तमरो अछि कोनसी ओडिया लिटरेचर इंग्लिश लिटरेचर सेथरू तुम बहुत सारा स्टोरी पढिथियो ना, नोवेल रो स्टोरी पढिथियो, पोएम रो तुम कोटेशन you can write. So my point is in this pyramid, this knowledge part, you already have some knowledge, you have to maximize this and you have to use it. तमरो जति 100% knowledge जति अछि तारो यूज तमे करियो 110%. This is what is required. Okay, any doubts? Let's come to the second part. Ethics रे structuring केमदिया करिया आमे डिस्कस करथिलु कि इन जनरल आंसर को स्ट्रक्चरिंग केमदिया करावे. आमे एसे रे कोन डिस्कस करथिलु, डू यू रिमेंबर? Suppose essay रे many of the essays, suppose essay is last essay आमे कोन लिखथिलु something ki forest is an example of economic excellence, something like.
Forests are the best case study of economic.
Okay, चलो बेस्ट केस स्टडी एग्जांपल कह दिल, बेस्ट केस स्टडी जहां भी हो. One keyword is forest, second is economic excellence, right? My point is this, हमें superfluous जिनस को एते देखियन. So forest and economic excellence. So what should have been our structuring? Structuring हमरो कोन हबार थिला, मु कहितले हमें किछ इंट्रोड्यूस करिया गोटे स्टोरी रो किछ इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग रो. If not किछ इंटरेस्टिंग जिनस मिलुनी यदि you can also start with quotation, but please don't start with definition or data. इस जिनस स्टार्ट करिया कथा ना, because this is not a GS topic, GS subject no. So here also in ethics also you can, if not some any story, you can start with a quote also. You can here you can start with the definition. It is obviously data asking definition to start kar. So for that we will also, I'll give you a list of terms and definitions. मार्केट रे जहाँ अछि चलो से सब पूरा से पीडीएफ को केबे भी मन करेन से एते लंबा पीडीएफ अछि आ एते कॉम्प्लिकेटेड तारो डेफिनेशन गुडा अछि कि you will not be able to understand. I will give you a simplified ना you एमते नहीं कि बुझी पारियो, बुझी तो पारियो सब माने तमे इमीडिएटली मन रखी कि ताको रिकॉल करियाटा डिफिकल्ट. So what we will do कि I'll give you some very simple definitions, and apart from that we will develop the skill कि यदि से सब जिनस भी न आसला, how you can make your own definition at that moment in the exam hall itself. Okay, so you can begin with a quote or a definition. यदि बहुत ही गोटे generic term थिवो, बहुत ही generic term. Okay, someone's audio is on, I think. Can you mute your audio? कार mobile or something on off which is muted. बहुत ही generic term थिवो, then you don't need to define it. For example, suppose देखो, suppose अच्छी crisis of conscience related something like that. Now this is a specific term, then you should start with a definition. But if they are starting from very generic term, for example, they are saying ki, please elaborate how the question is ki, how we can convince people towards pro-social behavior in context of giving up subsidies or some other thing. Okay. So here don't think कि okay pro-social behavior कौन मुझे मत सेथिरु ही define करिया कुछ जवाब पड़े देखो pro-social behavior is a key term, but here the essence of this question is not pro-social behavior. The essence of this question is persuasion. If even if you don't even define what is persuasion, still you can write a good answer. But in any case, I'll tell you, if you see the ମାନେ ଲିଷ୍ଟ ତମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବ କୋଚିଂ ସେଣ୍ଟର ମେଟେରିଆଲ ଦେଖିବ ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ 4-5 ଲାଇନ ର ଗୋଟେ ଡେଫିନେସନ ଦେଇଥିବେ. You can write a very simple definition. Persuasion is
ସାର୍ କିଛି ସାଉଣ୍ଡ ଆସୁନି।
Sir, not audible.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Now you are
Hello, sir.
audible. Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. ମଝିରେ କଣ ଟେକ୍ନିକାଲ ଗ୍ଲିଚ କିଛି ହେଲା କି କଟିଗଲା କଣ?
Yes, sir. The
କିଛି
screen was.
ଶୁଣାଗଲାନି କିଛି ଦେଖାଗଲାନି ସବୁ ଷ୍ଟପ୍ ହେଇକି ରହିଗଲା
ଓକେ ଓକେ hang on a second. ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି actually କୋଉଠି ତମେ ମିସ୍ କଲ so just tell me କି କୋଉ part ଟା ଦେଖି ନଥିଲ.
Persuasion.
सर क्राइसिस ऑफ कॉन्शियस को स्टार्ट करो
Crisis of conscience यार ମୁଁ एते सारा बुझेଇ सारलिनी कुआडे कोउठ रहिगला.
ଯୋଉ
Concept
କନଭିନ୍ସ
ଯୋଉ
ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି
definition ଟା
ସେଇଠି କନଭିନ୍ସ
Okay,
ଯୋଉ ଥିଲା
okay.
କନଭିନ୍ସ ପିପଲ
ମୁଁ ଏପଟେ ପଢେଇ ଚାଲିଛି ମୁଁ ଖୁସିରେ ହଉ ଠିକ ଅଛି no issues. Okay, everyone is able to see my screen now. Screen ଦେଖାଉଛି ତ?
Yes, sir.
yes sir
yes
Yes,
sir
sir.
Okay, okay. So yes, last ମୁଁ କଣ କହୁଥିଲି persuasion. That's the part you last heard. କି
Yes, sir.
not
persuasion.
convince no persuasion
Okay, I was telling you ki when it's not necessary, I'm not teaching you today. What I'm trying to tell you today is ki you should be able to write something even if you don't know what is the answer exactly. And how we are going to structure our answer कि first आमे कौन करें जो introduction part रे आमे बहुत ही generic term जदि थियो ताको आमे introduce करिया नहीं आमे specific term थिले ही ताको define करिया specific terms को आमे define करिया generic term को आमे define करिया दरकार नहीं EI is specific, crisis of consent specific. But if it is, don't try to define convince. Okay. तो ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ example ଦଉଥିଲି କି suppose question ଏମିତି ଆସିଛି how can we convince people towards pro social behavior in the context of giving up subsidies. Now the essence of this question is something known as persuasion. Okay. And if you want you can start by defining what is persuasion. But please don't start by defining what is convincing. Convince karya kaun? Okay. Because persuasion comes under this attitude chapter. Now here you can write a very simple definition. If you see any other material, if you Google it, persuasion, someone other definition might be very long, but you can write a very simple definition. कि persuasion means changing someone's attitude, thinking, behavior or decision making. कार हमें decision को change करें, attitude change करें, thinking change करें, या को कहते persuasion. Okay. So how can we convince people? You can start by maybe writing this definition, or you can immediately start with the means you can start without defining anything. That's the point I'm saying. It's माने नहीं कि सब टाइम define करें. If you know what is pro-social behavior, you can start with pro-social behavior definition. Otherwise, you can also, in general, start with something else. You can start with a quotation. You can start with a case study, example, anything. Okay. Are you able to understand? Hello.
yes sir
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then now, the next I was explaining ki how are we going to structure our answer. In essay, we had discussed about this thing. कि आमे जो एसर एग्जांपल नेलु कि फॉरेस्ट इज द बेस्ट केस स्टडी ऑफ इकोनॉमिक एक्सीलेंस एसर आमे केमति ताको एक्सप्लेन करथलु एसर आमे कहउतलु कि ताको प्रथमे आमे इंट्रो करदलु किछि ओडे तापर बॉडी रु स्टार्ट कलु ताको जस्टिफाई करिया कि यस फॉरेस्ट इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ बेस्ट इकोनॉमिक एक्सीलेंस देन हाउ आर वी गोइंग टू जस्टिफाई इट थ्रू डिफरेंट डायमेंशन आमे एतरे डिफरेंट डायमेंशन आणथु राइट कोन डायमेंशन चलो पेस्टल ट्रिक रे आमे देखिथिलु कि पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमिक सोशल टेक्नोलॉजिकल इकोलॉजिकल लीगल एठी चलो पेस्टल पॉलिटिकल में भी एते जिंस आसीबो नाही और मे बी यू कैन इवन राइट अबाउट व्हाट इज द फॉरेस्ट related politics you can write about development versus ecology something like that otherwise you can immediately come to economic part economically हमको कौन benefit मिलुची ecological services तार economic estimate कराई for example what is the value of the oxygen provided by one forest तार भी एमितिया भी estimate कराई rough estimate you can write about those you can say कि directly केमती हमको forest to different resources मिलुची which is being converted into different for different financial activities you can write about uh, how forest is giving us many biological resources you can talk about intellectual property rights geographical indications all of these things will come under one category. Then social benefits. Social benefit even you can write about cultural benefits. So I was just explaining back then some people have also written about tribals. How economics, how the forest is important for tribals. And tribal manakor economy pe important. सी हमको ए सब पॉइंट रू हमको लिंक करिया पड़ियो फाइनली इकोनॉमिक एक्सीलेंस को. Okay, don't forget that is the core thing in this essay. So social benefit रू हमें ताको ट्रांसलेट करिया towards economic excellence. Okay. टेक्नोलॉजिकल रू भी इकोनॉमिक एक्सीलेंस को नहीं आनिया, इकोलॉजिकल रू भी टेक्नोलॉजिकल एक्सीलेंस को नहीं आनिया. आमे कहया फॉर एग्जांपल फॉरेस्ट रहुची बोली डायवर्सिटी रहुची बोली अन्य सब माने बायोडायवर्सिटी रहुची बोली अन्य स्पीसीज माने सर्वाइव करि परछन, and from other species we are deriving economic activities. Okay. So this can be an example. Just give an example bees. आमे bee रू आमे जो honey bees रू आमे honey derive करछे. Why are they alive? Because of the many of forests. So my point is, in this essay, if you see how are we structuring the essay, first we are justifying it, then we are going to provide counter argument. This is what I had written, counter argument. Counter argument माने हमें कौन provide करें, हमें कहा कि no, it's not always that forest is an economic excellence. So here, and some of you had given actually this example, कि forest, how forest is hampering many times development. Someone had written about Niyamgiri. कि counter argument लिखिथिला essay रे? Can you tell me? I think some people had written. Devchandan. Yes, I remember many people had written. ସମସ୍ତେ लिखि नथिले, some people had written. So that is an excellent example. Okay. So ଆମେ argument or counter argument भी गोटे दवा. Then finally we are giving some specific conclusion. My point is आमे essay रे जेमते जेमते structuring करथिले, similar skill we can use in ethics also. Ethics रे भी जदि argument based वाला topic आस्थियो, okay, जहार बहुत clear cut answer नहीं, or even if clear cut answer अछि, if you can argue something about it, then you can structure it in this way. First you will say कि yes, then you will provide different dimensions. You can use to justify it. Then you will also I can say no, and then you will provide a few dimensions. Finally तुम stand जहा से stand टाको टिके बेसी argue करियार अछि. जोटा हमर stand नुहो सेटा को हम टिके कम argue करिया. बुझियो छी? हमें तो answer लिखिया, many of these things you will be able to understand. Today we are only talking about an overall strategy or skill development. Now you see many of the आउ बहुत सारा क्वेश्चन कौन हबो हमरो जो क्वेश्चन टा दिया हिथियो से क्वेश्चन टा मे बी आर्गुमेंट बेस्ड नथियो, इट माइट बी एन यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड थिंग, some kind of quotation. For example, the quotation would be ki maybe youth is the driver of the country or something, or youth is the future of the country or society. Now it's difficult to argue against it. Can you say कि नहीं youth is not the future? जब youth future ना होता है कि future है, old people future है. So एठी हमें argument basis रे हमें ताको divide करिया ना. एथे हमें केमिति divide करिया? First you will show from different dimensions. You will show कि हाँ in which way youth can be an asset, or youth will be the future of the society. You will say कि हाँ politics रे या हबो, हम economy रे या हबो. Economy रे for example you can talk about demographic dividend. Socially या हबो, socially कौन कौन ही परियो? For example youth will be the provider for other groups. Okay, similarly pastel approach you can divide this one part, then under each part you can give some examples. For example, under demographic dividend you will give an example. Now see the compare the difference between India and Japan. In India, even though Japan is in general more developed than India, now they are facing a slowing economy. Why? Because they have the infrastructure, सब जिनस तांकर भलो अछि, but तांकर माने entire population age करी होछ, whereas we have a booming population. Till now we have a youthful population, although our population growth is also declining. So this is how we are going to structure this kind of ethics question. Are you able to understand or not? आमे ethics question को केमितिया structuring करिया. If you have any doubts, please ask. No doubts?
सर एथिक्स ର आंसर रे किछ एमती कोटेशन देई होय कि
हाँ मैं डिस्कस करिया नेक्स्ट वैल्यू एडिशन में डिस्कस करिया. कोटेशन देई होय कोन कोटेशन दबो निश्चय. Must you should write at least. माने देखो कोटेशन कोथरे दबो अगेन. Okay चलो next move on to the value addition part. सेतरे इशू जिनस आसियो. Value addition में हम बहुत जिनस डिस्कस करिया. Value addition में कौन-कौन value addition होबो? Ethics, for ethics. Okay. एथरे आसियो examples, case studies, ये तो चलो, this is standard thing. You can write quotes, quotations. Most importantly, you should also draw different diagrams. Okay, simple graphs, flow charts, spider diagrams. এটা ଆମେ discuss करते. These are mane diagramized answer. You can also do this. And here you can also write some gimmick. You can also do some gimmick. And most importantly, and this is also related to gimmick, try to come up with some new ideas or concepts that you should keep in handy for validation. Okay, now let's see आमे कौन कौन करि परिया ethics से validation. या माने बुझ पार तो validation कौन समस्त normally जहाँ जहाँ content answer लिखिए तुम किसी extra जिनसे लिखिए so that you will get extra marks. Okay, so now let's move to, let's see कि कौन हो. First point तो you will be able to understand examples, case studies, है ना. To give you an example, let me just reject the call. For example, think of something, an essay on, oh sorry, ethics वाला question आसी को topic ऊपर. Just tell me, give me a topic. किसी और दो तीन topic मत को कहाँ ऊपर suppose question आसी.
Probity in governance.
Good governance.
Probity in governance.
Probity in governance. Excellent. Probity in governance. So suppose यहाँ पर हमें answer लिखो. So you are writing n number of points कि yes, governance what is, why do we need probity in governance? Then you will write कि what are the advantages of governance. ये सब जिनसे तापरे एटा भी लिखियो कि मे बी कौन कौन तार कौन सही पारे. फॉर एग्जांपल जो लोग बहुत बेसी प्रोबिटी जहार थिबो सी बहुत सारा डिफिकल्टीज भी फेस करियो, क्राइसिस ऑफ कॉन्शियंस आसीबो, एथिकल डिलेमा आसीबो. So in all of these you need to provide some examples or case studies, otherwise it's like ये सब माने हवा में बातें चल रही है ना. Case studies. So what can you provide as probity in governance? You'll say, for example, think of the Durga Shakti Nagpal case. You will say, in this example, the SDM, an IS officer who was acting as an SDM, took on the sand mafia of that district, and even under the pressure of threat to her life or adverse career progression, she stuck to her guns and she eliminated the she subjugated the mafia, and for this she was transferred. So this is an example of probity in governance. You can give other kind of examples. You can talk about Ashok Khemka. देखो जान जान एठी आमे पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप ऊपर ऊपर जो प्रोबेबिलिटी अछि सेटा को हम जान जान लिखने. फॉर एग्जांपल समवन माइट राइट हियर कि लाल बहादुर शास्त्री वाला एग्जांपल से रेलवे मिनिस्टर टाइम रे से केमि स्टेप डाउन करि हिथिले. से जते बेले हमर जते फूड क्राइसिस चलतिला, बिफोर टेलिंग द कंट्री टू फास्ट फॉर अ डे, व्हाट ही डिड वाज इनिशियली ही एंड हिज फैमिली फास्टेड फॉर अ डे. देन से चेक कले कि एटा करि होछि कि नै, तापर से एडवाइस कले एंटायर कंट्री. So here, what is the issue? Here, it is not probity in governance. It is probity in political life or probity in leadership in general. We are specifically talking about governance. So हमको governance related example देवा रहा है. बुझियो जी? You can even talk about systemic reforms. Sourav example दे and you should write. Okay. For example, you can talk about mission Karma Yogi. Even this will also help in bring probity in governance or not. Now someone will ask, how will this help? If you see among the many pillars, 6 pillars of the mission Karma Yogi, there were many frameworks. One framework was competency framework. One framework was monitoring and evaluation. Now we will say कि monitoring and evaluation framework, will this not incentivize that the administrators will remain or will maintain probity? Yes, this will also ensure. So this is how you will bring in examples and case studies to enrich your answers. Okay. So this is the most obvious part. Then what is the next part? Quotes. You should always give some basic quotes. देखो essay रे कौन होगा? essay रे भी बहुत सारा quotation तो मन रखती हो. Ethics रे भी से similar quotation you can write. I had given you a list of quotation. जो मैंने ओनली एथिक्स क्लास जॉइन करछन्ती तांको से पीडीएफ फॉरवर्ड यू फ्यू पीडीएफ प्लीज जस्ट रिमाइंड मी मते इनबॉक्स कर दो फॉरवर्ड यू फ्यू लिस्ट ऑफ कोड्स ओके गोटे पीडीएफ हम बनै थी ता बाद भी बहुत सारा कोटेशन जतले क्लास होची ततले मु देबी so you should definitely write this for example suppose the question is on let's take up another topic any other part of this thing
Emotional
out of topic
intelligence, attitude.
attitude emotional intelligence so let's talk about emotional intelligence so there is a very famous quotation by Daniel Goleman कहते कि success in life comes from 80% from 20% from IQ and 80% from EQ चलो मुझे को डायग्राटामिक्स फॉर्म रे लिखली यू शुड राइट इन अ फुल सेंटेंस रे एटा जीएस नो कि तुम एमतिया लिखियो सो सॉरी जीएस माने अन्य जीएस 1 2 3 नो सो यू शुड माने कोटेशन को तो एटलीस्ट फुल सेंटेंस रे लिखियो बट दिस इज द पॉइंट सो इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस ऑफ द क्वेश्चन आसला क्वेश्चन यू शुड राइट दिस है ना so similarly you think of attitude what can we write in attitude you can even make a quotation in this देखो किए कहला सपोज हमर मने नहीं हला तो आमे गोटे जिंस कोन लिखिया एटीट्यूड लिखिया कि से सेम कोटेशन को आमे एटीट्यूड रे चेंज कर दो ओके आमे कहया कि एवरीथिंग कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम ए मैन एटा एक्चुअली सम फ्रैंकल जी कहथिले ना मैन सर्च फॉर मीनिंग तार गोटे कोटेशन को मु चेंज करी स्लाइटली लिखछि आमे कहया कि एवरीथिंग कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम ए मैन except his attitude the actual quotation is a bit longer so yes this can be an example एठी अब फ्रैंकल कथा लिखियो एटा जस्ट कोटेशन लिखि दो कथा हो किए ने किए तो कहि दियो ना सेम थिंग और सिमिलर थिंग someone would have said तो किए जान एग्जैक्टली से सेम जिंस लिखिया बोले हमें कोन माने similarly if the quotation for example poverty is maximum people will write that गांधी जी कहथिले poverty is the worst form of violence so यदि बहुत ही क्लिशेड अछि ना बहुत ही क्लिशेड माने बहुत ही ओवर यूज्ड quotation अछि you can even skip this you can write an alternative quotation you can write कि अमर्त्य सेन कहथिले poverty is the lack of choice this is a better definition or better quotation so this is how so try to give some quotation in अच्छा वर्तमान आउ जने क्वेश्चन करिवे कि someone will say कि is it necessary that we should write quote each in each of the answer सब आंसर गोटे कोटेशन नियाते लिखिया दरकार देखो जो जदी आसुनी ताल जबरदस्ती एटी पकाया दरकार बट इन जनरल कौन हम स्पेसिफिकली इन थ्योरी पार्ट स्पेसिफिकली कौन तुम थ्योरी पार्ट रे ही लिख परियो केस स्टडी रे एते स्कोप ही मिलिबन यू सी केस स्टडी इज रियली लेंदी है ना एते स्कोप सतरे मिलिबन नहीं थ्योरी पार्ट रे ही तुम लिख परियो तो थ्योरी रे सपोज केतेटा 12 टा बिट अराउंड आसीयो जदी 12 टा कि 13 टा बिट और मे बी ओपीएससी कौन कपे करि पारे कि ए वर्ष एते डिफिकल्ट न देई कि मे बी सन 6 टा क्वेश्चन डायरेक्ट 6 टा कि 7 टा क्वेश्चन डायरेक्ट पके दे हेई पारे बट आई डाउट इट आई थिंक अगेन 12 13 टा एमते बिट आसीयो बट द पॉइंट इज कि 12 टा बिट रो हेई पारे कि मे बी 6 टा बिट रे यू आर एबल टू राइट 6 टा बिट रे यू आर नॉट एबल टू राइट इट्स आल्सो फाइन हमरो पॉइंट न कि हमें जबरदस्ती सब सब आंसर रे गोटे गोटे कोटेशन लिखिया
कोटेशन ଯଦି ମନେ ନ ପଇଲା କିଏ କହିଥିଲେ କି କଣ ସେଥିରେ କରିବେ
you can definitely write it କିଛି ମନେ ନ पड़िले खाली कोटेशन मार्क भितर लिखि दो इट्स नॉट मैंडेटरी कि किए कहितले बोले एग्जैक्टली लिखियो ओके
ନିଜେ ବାହାର କରି ଲେଖିପାରିବ
देखो निजे बाहर कले करियो जे कॉन्फिडेंटली माने टिके भलो क्वालिटी रो सेटा कोटेशन हेतिया दरकार माने टिके ऑफिशियली साउंडिंग क्वालिटी हेतिया दरकार हला कथा होची कोन किछि पिला कोन भलो इंग्लिश न लिखि टिके खराब इंग्लिश रे कोटेशन मार्क भितर रखि लिखि देबे ताले से एग्जामिनर को डाउट हो कि एटा किए कहिछि फॉर एग्जांपल सपोज यू आर राइटिंग कि कोन लिखियो पोवर्टी जणे लिखिया कोटेशन की पोवर्टी मींस ए पर्सन हु इज सो पोर दैट ही इज अनेबल टू लिव हिज लाइफ एबे एई वाला जेनेरिक स्टेटमेंट माने एटा कोटेशन लिखियार माने कोन एटा तो गोटे सिंपल सेंटेंस रे लिखि परथान बुझियो तो जहाँ भी लिखुछ किछि किछि ना किछि गोटे तार गोटे सब्सटेंस थिया दरकार एटा गोटे इंटुइटिव और गोटे गट फीलिंग आसीबो ओके अदरवाइज जदी आसुनी जदी हमती जबरदस्ती करो नाही ना मु जानछि किछि टॉपर एमते सब एडवाइस करंती कि सब लिखि दबो एटा लिखि दबो सेटा लिखि दबो आमे स्किल तो डेवलप करिया से स्किल डेवलपमेंट पर इफ यू आर एबल टू राइट देन इट इज माने यू विल माने मोस्ट लाइकली यू विल बी एबल टू राइट बट जस्ट बिकॉज कि someone had said this तेणु आमे जबरदस्ती करिया प्लीज डोंट डू दिस अदरवाइज विल एग्जामिनर विल नो कि ये बहुत फेकुछ फेकू काइंड ऑफ आंसर टा इज एनी अदर डाउट सो फार
सर जो कोटेशन वाला क्वेश्चन है फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू डोंट रिमेंबर हु सेड इट तो से वाला क्वेश्चन केमते में
हाँ
टैकल
हाँ
करियो
सही अच्छा सपोज क्वेश्चन itself is a quotation you don't know who said it
यस यस
you don't need to start with कि someone said this or someone said तुम्हें से quotation टार meaning टा को कौन पूछेगा ना that is more important in general suppose another person is knows कि who has said this and से खाली लिखी दीजिए कि this quotation is said by that person and से तार माने या and actually से explain भलो से करनी he will not get good marks just because he knows who said this तार माने कौन ये कौन कही जे आमे जानली सेटा भलो आंसर लिख करिया not necessary suppose you don't know who said कि knowledge is power so it's fine you don't know but you can explain na how knowledge is power that is more important quotation ଜାଣିଛ ଯଦି ତା ଉପରେ କିଏ କହିଛି ତ ବହୁତ ଭଲ କଥା ନ ଜାଣିଛ ଯଦି ନ ଜାଣିଛ ଯଦି ଜାଣିଛ quotation କିଏ କହିଛି you can simply start with and you should be sure कि ସିଏ ହିଁ କହିଛି then you can start with this thing कि this person has said for example you know if you know कि Immanuel Kant had said this कि all we should always treat a man or a person always as an end and not as means you know he has said this then you should start otherwise if quotation mark भितर दिया है don't just start randomly guess करिए यार गांधी जी has said this गांधी जी has said many things most people know कि से कौन କହିଛନ୍ତି न କହିଛନ୍ତି ଆଉ ଏଇଟା ବି ଗୋଟେ ବହୁତ ଅନ୍ୟ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ବି କିଏ famous quote କହିଥିବ ତୁମେ ସେଟାକୁ misrepresent କରିବ then you will get less marks okay so don't do this
सर
yes
सर किसी कोड को हम टिके चेंज करके लिखि पारबा कि उनको नॉलेज
हाँ
जगह
हाँ
आउ
slightly
वर्ड लिखि
change ना knowledge ଜାଗାରେ ଆମେ ଶୁଣ what I'm trying to say is this ଶୁଣ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ଶୁଣ କୋଟେସନ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ କଣ ହୁଏ କି ଆମକୁ ଓଭରଅଲ ଜିଷ୍ଟ और एसेंस ଟା ଜଣା ଥାଏ है ना बट एग्जैक्टली कौन कुहाଯାଇଛି ଆମକୁ ଜଣା ନାହିଁ तो दैट इज आल्सो ओके एग्जैक्टली जदी लिख पारनो अप्रोक्सीमेटली किसी लिखुଛ दैट इज आल्सो फाइन फॉर टू गिव एन एग्जांपल सपोज टिके कॉम्प्लिकेटेड कोटेशन गोटे अछि सपोज ए कोटेशन इज यू आर राइटिंग माने गोटे पोएम कोट करछो वेयर द हेड इज हेल्ड हाई ओके वेयर द हेड इज हेल्ड हाई देखो मोर भी सेंती ओवरऑल टिके अप्रोक्सीमेटली मन अछि वेयर द हेड इज हेल्ड हाई and the house is not divided by narrow walls something or something into that land oh my father take us something like that so approximate you can write okay but ଯଦି absolutely କିଛି ଜଣା ନାହିଁ ନିଜେ ମନ ଇଚ୍ଛା ସେଠି ଜବରଦସ୍ତି ଦି ତିନିଟା ଲାଇନ ଫୋର୍ସ କରିକି ଲେଖିବ ନାହିଁ କି ଟାଗୋର has said this because this quotation is very well known ଗୋଟେ ଦୁଇଟା ୱାର୍ଡ ଏପଟ ସେପଟ ହେଇପାରେ or even ଗୋଟେ ସେଣ୍ଟେନ୍ସ ର ଗୋଟେ ଦୁଇଟା ୱାର୍ଡ ଏପଟ ସେପଟ ହେଇପାରେ but entire quotation should not be fake okay that is my point ବେଳେ gist or essence ଜଣା ଥାଏ you can write it definitely ना बेले बेले कौन हुए एग्जैक्टली से सेम कोटेशन टा न थाई कि गोटे डिफरेंट कोटेशन टा बहुत फेमस हो जाए फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू सी मेनी देयर आर मेनी सॉन्ग्स ए सॉन्ग टा सुनथियो कि नहीं व्हाट डजंट किल मी मेक्स मी स्ट्रॉन्गर द फर्स्ट पर्सन टू से दिस या ऊपर बहुत सारा सॉन्ग लिरिक्स है कि बहुत लोग यूजुअली एटा को लिखि दियन तो देखते हो स्टेटस स्टेटस रे पकई दे बट द एक्चुअल ओरिजिनल लाइन वाज गिवन बाय निजा ना भी बहुत अद्भुत ना प्रोनाउंस निजा किसी लोग नीश बोली पढ़ा निजा निजा had said that which does not kill us makes us stronger so that which does not kill us makes us stronger and what doesn't kill me makes me stronger what is in essence is there any difference in essence there is no difference so you can write this also कि निजा had said this कि what doesn't kill me makes me stronger तो आमे बहुत minute जिनस रे सेंटिया देखिया नाही केही भी to think of the examiner's point of view examiner को कौन दरकार examiner wants to understand कि whether you know this thing or not whether you are able to justify or not टिके एपट सेपट हे गेले किछ असुविधा नहीं ओके आमे ई कोटेशन पार्ट रे बहुत टाइम स्पेंड कर देले वी शुड मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट व्हाट इज द नेक्स्ट पार्ट डायग्राम्स वेरी इंपोर्टेंट आंसर राइटिंग आज आमे केवल आंसर राइटिंग मोस्टली करछु ओके थर्ड वैल्यू एडिशन इज डायग्राम डायग्राम हम केमती करिया एंड फर्स्ट कथा होची किछि लोक तो एथिक्स रे टोटल डायग्राम करंती ही नहीं. Please don't do such kind of mistakes. Diagram will add value to your marks. Sorry, value
Sir,
value to your answer. Yes.
sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Just quote is just more got last point thila. For example, I think last year UPSC ର essay ରେ ଗୋଟେ ଏମିତି ପଡିଥିଲା ଗୋଟେ river remember something କଣ ଗୋଟେ ପଡିଥିଲା but ତାର ସେ
You
complete
do
quotation
not step
ଦେଇନଥିଲା.
twice into the same
Yes,
river.
you do not step
Hmm.
yes. ତ
Sorry.
ତାର just ଖାଲି ଗୋଟେ ସେଣ୍ଟେନ୍ସ ଲେଖିଲେ ତାର ମିନିଂ କିଛି ଅଲଗା ହଉଥିଲା ବଟ୍ ତାର ଓଭରାଲ କୋଡଟା ଦେଖିଲେ ତାର ମିନିଂ ଅଲଗା ହଉଥିଲା. ତ ଏମିତି ଯଦି କିଛି ଆମେ କୋଡକୁ ଭୁଲ ଇଣ୍ଟରପ୍ରେଟ କରିକି ଯୋଉଟା ଅରିଜିନାଲ ତାର ଇଣ୍ଟରପ୍ରିଟେସନ ନୁହେଁ ତ ତାକୁ ଆମେ ଲେଖି ଦଉଛେ ତ ସେଥିରେ ମାନେ କିଛି ବଟ୍
Yes, you will
ଜଷ୍ଟିଫାଏଡ
get less
ହେଇକି
marks. No,
ହଁ
justify kale bhi if you are not able to understand what the quote actually means, then you should not choose that essay na. Se essay ko choosing ହିଁ କରିବ. ଯଦି ସେ quotation ଟା exactly କଣ ତମେ ଜାଣି ପାରୁନ then don't choose it. ତାକୁ
okay
ସେଥିରେ ଅଧିକା GS वाला ट्रिक ସେଥିରେ ଲଗେଇକି ତାକୁ कीवर्ड ବାହାର କରିକି brainstorming କରିକି justify କଲ ଦେଖିବ କି ମାନେ ପୁରା 1200 ମାର୍କ 1200 वर्ड ରେ ଲେଖି ଦେଇଛ essay but essay ର actually ମାନେ demand ଟା fulfill କରୁନି essay ର meaning ଯାହା ସେଟା you are writing something different then you will not get marks. Okay. Actually the examiner will get irritated कि यार एते जिंस लिखि ଦେଇଛି but he doesn't understand कि कौन पचरा ହେଇଛି. So in essay तो ଏଇ mistake केबे भी କରିବନି. essay रे जो topic ଟା ମାନେ जो लिखुଛ you should know absolutely topic ର ମାନେ କଣ. I know that in 2021 paper most people left out one question in UPSC one ଗୋଟେ बहुत ही बढ़िया टॉपिक टा दिया ହେଇଥିଲା which was कि जो कार्ल मार्क्स ର टॉपिक हम डिस्कस ना कि history repeats itself first is a tragedy second is a farce. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ similarly ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ difficult topic ଥିଲା कि something utopianism or utopian want something related to it. Okay, question माने question ର एटा कहया थिला कि यूटोपिया को आमे यदि चेस करिया को जिबा ताले तारो एंड सेथिरे वांट रो किछि एंड नाही. ऑन द अदर हैंड आमे यदि कंप्लीटली माने कोन कहबा एस्थेटिक टाइप रो हे जिबा ताले भी हमको लाइफ रो सब हैप्पीनेस मिलिबा नाही. समथिंग लाइक दैट मोर एक्जेक्टली मन पड़. But this was a very nice quote. If you are able to understand, then you can write it. But if you don't know what this means, then you are trying to find out the keywords and through keyword को analysis करी लिखुछ, then entire essay will be wrong. essay रे तो ये mistake करनी. Problem माने हमरो advantage in GS कौन की GS रे गोटे less mark रो गोटे single question थिबो and आमे ताको छाड़ी परिबेनी. We cannot leave out. essay रे कौन essay रे तुम पाखरे ऑप्शन अछि चारि चारिटा ऑप्शन अछि ताबे गोटे पिक करे जोटा तुम भल से जଣା अछि. GS रे हम पाखरे ऑप्शन नहीं ना. GS हमको एक्स्ट्रा क्वेश्चन मिलु नहीं ऑप्शनल नहीं हमको जहां लेबे लिखियो पड़ियो. Then we are doing this kind of skill which we had discussed brainstorming. Yes, we have discussed करते. Yes, someone else was asking. Yes, someone else was asking something. No.
सर से भले
सर गोटे
जदि एथिक्स रे क्वेश्चन पड़ला तो
ethics रे तो
तब
तुम
कौन
करियो
कर
पड़ियो ना. ethics रे करियो पड़ियो. मुझे छाड़ी परिनी. आमे आमे हमरो साइकोलॉजी भी देखियो ना. आमे तो छाड़ी परियन ना ethics रे गोटे क्वेश्चन कैन यू लीव आउट ऑप्शन
तो
नहीं.
जहाँ
तेणु हमको
हमको
करियो
माने
पड़ियो.
लाଗୁଛି
Yes,
ଆମେ
जहां
ସେଇ
आसीयो
ଅନୁସାରେ ଜଷ୍ଟିଫାଇ
से
କରିବୁ.
करियो. Yes,
ओके
yes, definitely, definitely. Yes, someone else.
सर बेले बेले ये जो कोटेशन ऊपर आ गोटे क्वेश्चन थिला जे गोटे गोटे माने बही रे कि फॉर एग्जांपल मूवी रे भी गोटे गोटे बढ़िया लाइन था फॉर एग्जांपल लाइक विथ ग्रेट पावर कम्स ग्रेट रिस्पांसिबिलिटी कि इट्स नॉट हु आई एम अंडरनीथ बट व्हाट आई डू दैट डिफरेंस मी एगुड़ा लिखि परिबे
लिखि दो जे हेटी लिखियोनी कि बैटमैन डार्क नाइट अंदर हैला दिस इज attributed by बैटमैन डार्क नाइट. What you can do is कि you can write that thing in quotation then just leave it. किछि लेखर कि एटा की कहैतला. It's माने what I am on the surface doesn't define me what I'm underneath. Here you should not write कि Batman because the examiner will be pissed off. Examiner is a 40 years old person, 40-45 years old around that age. से कहे तुम बैटमैन को कोट करूछ सीए जाने क्रिस्टोफर नोलन नो विजन कौन. What he knows, he knows about Gandhiji, he knows about Ambedkar. Okay. So you are writing about Batman, he'll be pissed off. But the point is, you can certainly write in the quotation. बहुत सारा भल भल डायलॉग कोटेशन लिखियो. कोटेशन में बहुत सारा डाउट आछी. आई एम रियली सरप्राइज्ड. आई नेवर थॉट कि so many people would have so many doubts. ठीक अछि. इट्स द एंटायर पर्पस ऑफ दिस क्लास इज दैट कि इनिशियली हमर पूरा मेंटल क्लैरिटी रहया दरकार. हम केमिति आंसर लिखियो ना. एनी अदर queries? Okay, then let's move on to the next part, diagram. କିଛି ଲୋକ କଣ କରନ୍ତି ପୁରା ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାର ସରି ଏଥିକ୍ସ ପାର୍ଟରେ ବି କିଛି ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ କରନ୍ତିନି, ଏସେରେ ତ କିଛି ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ କରିବେ ହିଁ ନାହିଁ, that is for sure. Okay, ethics in other GS papers you can definitely draw diagrams, ethics ରେ ବି କରିପାରିବ and କରିବା କଥା। ଏବେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା କି କେମିତି ଟାଇପର ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ କରିବ। ଗୋଟେ ପାର୍ଟ ହଉଛି କି ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମାଇଜ୍ଡ ଆନ୍ସର୍ସ। ଓକେ, ଆନ୍ସର ଟାକୁ ଇଟସେଲ୍ଫ ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ କରିକି ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଲେଖିବାର ଟ୍ରିକ୍ ଶିଖିଥିଲେ GS କ୍ଲାସରେ, you can do the same trick here also. For example, suppose the question is चलो आउ गोटे किसी गोटे टॉपिक दियो, give me another topic, suppose corporate ethics. Okay, question is something related to this कि what is the role of ethics or ethical code of conduct in corporates, explain ये वाला किसी गोटे question आस। So what you can do is, if you are structuring this answer, if you are writing about introduction किसी गोटे color quotation और किसी भी corporate ethics को define करिक गलो, तापरे suppose in the body part you are trying to answer, the answer itself can be diagrammatized. For example, you can write ki what is corporate ethics or definition of corporate ethics, corporate ethics. So here 3 points, then you will write ki need for corporate ethics. Here again you will make such kind of points, or you can do what, you can also write ki examples of case study or case studies of corporate ethics. एमती लिखिला, then you can draw this kind of spider diagrams. You can write some examples, for example Satyam computers, one example. You can write about currently जो बिटकॉइन एक्सचेंज टा जो क्रैश कला, कौन तारा नाम था, सैम बैंक फ्रीडमैन, समथिंग लाइक दैट, एसबीएफ क्रिप्टो एक्सचेंज यारो बुडी वाला, बहुत इन्वेस्टर माने हेतरे पैसा लूज कले बिकॉज़ दिस पर्सन वाज नॉट एथिकल. व्हाट एल्स कैन बी एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट एथिक्स रो कौन एग्जांपल हबो? I think a few people who have been caught in different scams in India. Can you think of any other examples?
सर वीडियो कॉल स्कैम जो एक्सिस बैंक सीईओ थिले।
अच्छा, आईसीआईसी रो सीईओ चंदा कोचर,
अच्छा
येस बैंक रो एग्जांपल यू कैन राइट जो डिफॉल्ट करियला. You can write about Vijay Mallya, excellent case study, Kingfisher wala. Okay, so my point is you can write, give examples, you can write in your answer, you can write like this also. So when the examiner is checking your copy, immediately देखा था उसको clearly जाना पड़ी जो कौन लिखा है चीज, तीन चार पॉइंट पढ़ी, he will be able to understand कि okay you have given some examples. So this is one way of writing diagrammatized answers. Suppose आमे एमती आउ गोटे टाइप रो हेडिंग देखुतले, आमे गोटे जीएस रे देखुतले ना कि suppose you have written कि what are the different schemes related to renewable energy, RE, आमे एमती अबे ड्रॉ करतले, तापर आमे लिखतले नेशनल सोलर मिशन, इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस, we were writing about जो global biofuel alliance, we were writing about Satat scheme, we were writing about Ujala scheme. So here also you can, in ethics also you can write, suppose हमको गोटे पॉइंट रे बहुत सारा सब पॉइंट देखियार अछि, you can write like this also, no issues. Okay, so this is how you are going to draw diagrammatized answer. Now there are proper other diagrams also, other diagram भी और normal diagram भी अच्छी. Normal diagram कौन? For example, suppose you are showing in ethics what is the meaning of altruism, or the question is about compassion. ମୁଁ ଦେଖେଇଥିଲି ତମେ ଗୋଟେ डायग्राम एमती कर परियो, एमती गोटे लैडर कर परियो और एमती गोटे ट्रायंगल कर परियो, लैडर करके एमती गोटे गोटे रंग भी देखै परियो. हमें कौन देखिया, फर्स्ट होची sympathy, so first level is sympathy, second level is empathy, third level is compassion, and final level is altruism. You can draw this diagram and you can show empty diagram कर दो, increasing level of morality. Okay, suppose the question is on morality and ethics, sorry, morality and law. You can draw this kind of diagram ki this is law, this is ethics, and this is the overlapping part. Means it's not always ki what is legal that is ethical, and it is not always true ki what is ethical is also legal, but many a times it coincides. or overlaps. You can draw this kind of diagram. If the question is suppose emotional intelligence, you can draw like this. What are the components of emotional intelligence? You can write self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. You can draw like this. और या बदले एमितिया करके भी लिख पारियो पांचटा पॉइंट माने जतेटा पॉइंट थियो अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन राइट ना सपोज यू डिसाइड कि यू आर राइटिंग 4 पॉइंट्स यू कैन राइट लाइक दिस है ना if you have 5 points you can write like this if you have 6 points if you have suppose 8 points you can write like this so it depends on how many points you want to write you can draw accordingly that kind of diagram you can even show ki how through you can show through graph how something is developing. For example, let's see, suppose the question is related to prejudice. We are trying to show ki how prejudice develops. So we will say ki first there will be competition for scarce resources. This would lead to hostility. Hostility would lead to intergroup or this is it is intergroup hostility. Okay. And this would lead to miscommunication or lack of communication. This would lead to aggression. Then finally there would be a trigger and this would lead to violence. Okay. Here you can write aggression no opposite part re prejudice develop. Now who gave this diagram? Answer is right now I gave you this diagram. You can in the exam hall also can draw this. Can anyone say ki diagram ta wrong? No one can say this is wrong. But what you are trying to explain you have conveyed to the examiner. You have conveyed to the examiner ki look I have shown how prejudice develops. Competition for scarce resources ହେଲା intergroup hostility ହେଲା miscommunication ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ହେଲା aggression ରୁ prejudice ଗୋଟେ ବାଟରେ ବାହାରିଲା ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ବାଟରେ trigger କିଛି triggering incident ହେଲା ସେଥିରୁ violence ବାହାରିଲା instead of writing all of these things in one paragraph pura on and on ki competition for scarce resources leads to intergroup hostility which in turns leads to lack of communication and due to this lack of communication there develops prejudice which sometimes manifests in violence. Instead of writing all this we are drawing this diagram. Who is going to get more marks? You tell me. If you are the examiner, 2% have written this kind, 1% has written this, one has written this. Who are you going to award more marks?
The former.
Of course, because you are doing the work, you are making the work of the examiner easier, right? So that's what we are trying to understand. Now let's try to understand one more kind of diagram, that is flow charts. ଏଠି ଆମେ case study ଉପରେ ଆସିବା ପ୍ରଥମ କଥା ହଉଛି ଏଇ ସବୁ ଗୁଡା ଆମେ देखो ଏଇ ଟାଇପ ର डायग्राम ସବୁ ଆମେ ପାର୍ଟ 1 ରେ କରୁଥିଲେ ପାର୍ଟ A ରେ और सेक्शन A सॉरी जोटा हमरो थ्योरी और स्टैटिक पार्ट इन केस स्टडी कैन यू ड्रॉ एनी डायग्राम्स देखो देयर इज नो रूल सेइंग यू कैन नॉट ड्रॉ बट माय पॉइंट इज कि यू विल नॉट गेट एनफ टाइम टू डू इट बहुत सारा बेसी डायग्राम करे तुम पाखे टाइम होबा नहीं ये समवन इज आस्किंग समथिंग यस
No sir, case study रे हम stakeholder रे भी हमें diagram
yes
करी
excellent I was just going to say it yes मु सेटा जस्ट कहली गोटे केस रे तुम करि परियो एक्चुअली दुईटा केस रे करि परियो फर्स्ट होची स्टेक होल्डर्स आमे सब डिस्कस करिया डोंट वरी किछि पिला कोन हो कि कोन स्टेक होल्डर विषय कथा होछन इमीडिएटली केस स्टडी आसीला हम बुझि पाम सो इट्स ओके माने आमे नेक्स्ट क्लास उडारे बहुत सारा डिस्कस करिया वी एंटायर कोर्स इज देयर टुडे आई एम गोइंग टू जस्ट टेल यू कि हाउ टू राइट आंसर्स आज आमे केवल स्किल पार्ट देखछो ओके आज आमे नॉलेज को जाउना सो इफ एनी ऑफ यू डोंट नो कि केस स्टडी ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर कोन हो कि सेक्शन बी रे गोटे इवेंट और गोटे सिचुएशन को डिस्क्राइब कराई दे कोई थी सपोज यू आर पोस्टेड एज द डीएम और कलेक्टर ऑफ वन डिस्ट्रिक्ट तुम डिस्ट्रिक्ट एठी आग लागि गला कि कोन राइट्स हे गला सो तुम तो हेठी जिबा को बाहर छ तुमको ऊपर फोन आसिला तुम पॉलिटिकल मास्टर सपोज चीफ मिनिस्टर हैज कॉल्ड यू एंड चलो दीज आर ऑल फिक्शनल एग्जांपल्स ओके डोंट गेट ट्रिगर्ड और एनीथिंग chief minister's office has called you or prime minister or prime minister's office had called you and they are saying you should not go to that place and you should allow ki whatever is happening should happen what will you do so in any kind of such case studies what many people do कि initially ସେମାନେ कौन करिए एमती stakeholder आगे लिखिदेवे and stakeholder एमती एमती draw करदेवे diagram कौन diagram करदेवे first stakeholder who are the party stakeholder माने who are parties to this ethical dilemma first is you or whatever is the name given it is he or she is the decision maker then second is one is the government or you can here write PMO CMO whatever is being given one is society itself people okay चलो एम चारि टिकिया कर तो किसी गोटे जबरदस्त एमती लिखा बोली किसी माने नहीं एमती जब तीन टा थी एमती स्टेक होल्डर लिखिपर आम चलो आउ गोटे पार्ट भी बाहर कर आउ कौन सोसाइटी छड़ा आउ कौन स्टेक होल्डर आउ किए स्टेक होल्डर हो पारे पुलिस लेट अस कॉल इट पुलिस because it is assumed that you are a civil servant here you are the DM so police is a stakeholder here then you can analyze from different stakeholders perspective so this is one case or one part where you can use dichotomous answers but I will tell you another thing is it necessary that you should always write stakeholders देखिए बहुत बेले बहुत पिला कौन करती दे आर लाइक ना स्टेक होल्डर तो हमको लिखा ही पड़ो देखो स्टेक होल्डर सब लिखियो बोली हमती किसी नेसेसिटी नहीं specifically if the question itself रे clearly stakeholder किए mention कर देइछि and question ने पचारा है case study itself रे कि you tell us कि what this person will do what you will do then that means कि the question itself has identified the stakeholder then you don't need to draw the stakeholders second point is कि sometimes say number of questions जो bits number of bits itself would be so many कि बेले बेले तीन टा कि चार भी होई थाई तो तुम आंसर टा बहुत लेंदी ही तुम्हें आंसर जो बिट गुड़ा देखिए जापर कि केते लंबा हम जो सेमती अच्छे जो स्टेक होल्डर जमा स्टार्ट करना बिकज टाइम कंज्यूमिंग बहुत बर्तमान यहाँ गोटे किसी स्टैंडर्ड जिन नुह कि समस्त लिखार अच्छे स्टार्टिंग किए लिखा स्टार्ट कला यहाँ बहुत पॉपुलराइज हो गला मेनी पीपल आर राइटिंग इट think about this many people in your competitors most of them would also be writing the same thing stakeholder एमती start करिए और तुमको सेमती स्टार्ट करियार नहीं माने नहीं कि हम सब आंसर सेमती लिखे if the question is demanding then you can write if it is not demanding or you don't have the time then you can skip it together but you should write a one line introduction for example here you can write कि the above case study represents an ethical dilemma of public duty versus private gain or something like that okay I'm going to single line introduce kariye then we will go to different options and all okay so it's not necessary that always you should start with a stakeholder okay बुझी हो कि बुझी होनी any doubts in this चलो next we will go to how we are going to write the body part रे हमें कौन करिया बॉडी रे हमें लिखिया कि जहां भी देथियो क्वेश्चन सपोज बॉडी पार्ट को हमें केमते स्ट्रक्चर करिया दैट डिपेंड्स एंटायरली ऑन व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन बीइंग आस्क्ड इन द केस स्टडी क्वेश्चन को डिपेंड करके हम बॉडी बनाए फॉर एग्जांपल सपोज इन दिस केस स्टडी द केस स्टडी सपोज कि गोटे अगर रायट हेची तुम्हें तुमर हेटु जिबार माने एक्चुअली इट इज योर ड्यूटी जिबा कथा हेटी बट पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर आछी तुम हेटु जाओ नाही तो what are the different options available to you and you evaluate them ये वाला किसी गोटे अछि तो you can simply write some options so you will write ki option 1 कौन की ना I will go to the riot place okay एमि देखिछ then you will write what are the pros and what are the cons what will be the pros of course you will be able to maybe contain the riot to some extent cons would be your personal safety को threaten अछि है ना pros will be कि this is your part of your professional duty con is that तुम्हारा career progression रे hamper होबो because तार consequence होबो कि तुम political master जो माने थिबे they will take adverse decision maybe you will get transferred or something so this is one option then you even write the second option very obvious option 2 कि I will not go to the right place देखो एटा बहुत ही obvious कथा कि एटा correct option केबे भी हेई परिबे but still you are just writing pros and cons दुई तीन टा प्रो कॉन बहुत बेसी हमको पॉइंट देवा दरकार नहीं दुईटा लगा दुईटा कि तीनटा देले हबो and third you will say write कि my action or my decision what I will do here the main part is here you have to tell ki to the examiner ki what you are actually going to do. And my advice is ki depending on what is the theme or what is the actual ethical dilemma, accordingly your answer should be that part. It's not necessary that always you should take the middle path. Sometimes depending on the dilemma you can take the middle path. Sometimes you have to take a stand. Okay, you have to say I will do certainly this, I will not do this. For example, in this case study you will say ki I will, if देखो जिते भी तुमको प्रेशराइज कले तुम्हें केबे भी is it a responsible thing that you will not go to the right place. It is your duty to the go to the right place. But point is कि हमें कहेगा कि first what we will do कि first we will immediately inform the police को हमें inform करिया. पुलिस को कहे कि immediately सेठी जाइए पहुंचो. Rapid action force को हमें डाकिबा. Riot police specifically जो माने अछन तांको डाकिबा. If possible we will also bring CRPF वाला जे भी अछि माने security agency को first हमें डाकिबा plus we will go there. Second part is in the meanwhile when you are getting the calls from political masters, you will say कि sir kindly whatever you are telling me to do kindly give me written orders. You will ask for written orders. Otherwise you will inform that in the absence of written orders I am going to abide by what is written in my conduct rules. What is written in my what is my professional duty ମୁଁ ସେଇ ଜିନିଷ କରିବି. Then you will write कि ମୁଁ ସେଠି ଯାଇକି riot ଜାଗାରେ କଣ କରିବି. Then what ମୁଁ ଏଇଆ କରିବି, ମୁଁ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଡାକି ତାଙ୍କୁ ବୁଝେଇବି, ମୁଁ ତାପରେ public awareness campaign କରିବି, ଯାହା ବି whatever else you are writing. So this is your action which may not be any of these two actions. Okay. But you will provide what are the pros and cons of these obvious actions, option 1 and option 2. Please don't elaborate too much on this. What a single sentence की गोटे phrase रे ही just सारी जाए एमितिया personal threat to personal safety, career progression, adverse career progression ए वाला. Don't explain because the examiner will understand immediately कि तुम कौन कहବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛ. The examiner is not interested in these points. ଏଇଟା को ଆମେ କେବଳ just because question ପଚରା ହେଇଛି what are the different options available to you just to address that you are writing. The actually examiner is actually interested in this part. So you have to explain this. Now why are we discussing all of this under diagram part? My point is कि you can write this entire answer, this part, ये जो part है my action, you can write this in a flow chart also. That is what I am trying to say. Flow chart केमतिया लिखियो, मैं लिखियो कि what will be my action. These are the two branches. First branch is related to riot itself. Second branch is related to political masters or political pressure. So ये दीटा जिनसा संगरे संगरे चलियो. Then you will explain कि first एटा हबो, then एटा हबो, then एटा हबो, then एठी भी एटा तो मैं explain करूचे एमितिया. Finally there will come a common conclusion. Now entire thing instead of writing माने पारारे लिखिया अपेक्षा I think ए format रे examiner को बुझियारे easy हबो. Then here maybe you can add देखो ए सब point रे you can add some examples. Here you can write some laws. Here you can give justification through philosophical or different philosophical aspects. In the next class we are going to read about philosophical aspect only. We will divide this entire philosophical aspect into different basic framework. Okay, but my point today is that here whatever content you are writing you can also write in flowchart. ମୁଁ कहूନି ସବୁ answer ସେମିତି लिखियो. In some answer you can certainly write it, and in this kind of answer the examiner will be better able to understand what you are trying to say and you will certainly get more marks. ବୁଝିହେଉଛି ମୁଁ କ'ଣ କହୁଛି? ମୋ କହିବା କଥା case study ରେ you usually have two options where you can use diagrams. Proper diagram ଆମେ କହୁଛୁ, diagramized answer ଆମେ କହୁନି, proper diagram. ଗୋଟେ ହେଉଛି flow chart, ଗୋଟେ ହେଉଛି stakeholder. या बाद तुम जब चाहिए जबरदस्ती लिखी पारियो. देखो पारावाइज जब किसी लिखुछ you can to explain something you can draw very small diagrams. For example you will say कि there is one something called 3 E's: efficiency, economy, effectiveness, something like this. So suppose in one part you are saying कि in corporate governance the decisions taken should adhere to 3 E's. Then you can in the side you can draw this kind of diagram. But these are very small kind of diagrams. We are not talking about the big diagrams. Okay. ଆଉ ବେଶୀ ୟାଠୁ डायग्राम କରିବାକୁ case study ରେ ତମ ପାଖରେ scope ନଥିବ because you have to write a lot and you have to address many things. Okay, so what you can rather do is कि ଏଭଳିଆ ଜିନିଷରେ reduce କରିପାରିବ ତାକୁ. ଆଉ static part ରେ most of the diagrams you will find that you are able to do in section A. ଯାହା କହୁଛି କିଛି ବୁଝି ହଉଛି ନା ଡାଉଟ୍ ହଉଛି? Please tell me. ବୁଝି ହଉଛି ତ? Very good. स्पीड ठीक अच्छी और क्या लगुच बहुत फास्ट आम जाऊँ और बहुत स्लो जाऊँ इज द पेस करेक्ट
Yes, sir.
ठीक है so this is about diagrams okay now let's talk about gimmick and new concepts or value addition में हमें कथा होची आउ कौन करी हबो now the part is gimmick again now we are coming to section A आमे GS classes रे discuss करथिलु different answer writing skills we have discussed something called gimmick what is the meaning of gimmick gimmick होचे value addition without value addition okay it's a very funny way of this is my definition माने आमे एग्जामिनर को शो करछु किछ वैल्यू ऐड होछ बट एक्चुअली किछ वैल्यू ऐड हो नाही तो दैट मीन्स जबरदस्ती तुम करछ फॉर एग्जांपल तुम नॉर्मली भी गोटे किछ गोटे रिपोर्ट फैक्ट किछ गोटे लिखि पारि थांतो एमितिया बट इंस्टेड व्हाट यू आर डूइंग कि गोटे बॉक्स भितर ताको लिखुछ यू आर ड्राइंग द अटेंशन ऑफ द एग्जामिनर कि देखो वी हैव डन समथिंग आउट ऑफ द ऑर्डिनरी हियर गिमिक इज आल्सो समथिंग व्हेन वेरी ऑब्वियस थिंग को तुम एमिति डायग्रामाटिकली रिप्रेजेंट करूछ फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर सेइंग कि हाउ कैन वी चेंज एटीट्यूड दैट फर्स्ट की एटीट्यूड जो लोकर चेंज करिया कथा तार मेंटल रेडीनेस थिबा दरकार है ना देन हमरो सॉरी फिजिकल कोच आ कोन हे परियो आ किछि एक्सटर्नल इनपुट थिबा दरकार देन हियर कम्स द कन्विंसिंग पार्ट आउटकम इज परसुएशन और चेंज इन एटीट्यूड तक बहुत ऑब्वियस जिंस को हमें माने अदरकारी वे रे जस्ट जबरदस्ती एमति गोटे डायग्राम कर दे so this is also an example of gimmick but sometimes in section A you can if you want you can do it माने नहीं कि बहुत जबरदस्ती करियार बट सपोज तुमको लागुच कि तुम पाखे कंटेंट नाही एसो जिनस आम केतल करू जेतल बहुत बेसी कंटेंट आम पाखे न थाए एटा आमे सेतल करू कि आमे एक्स्ट्रा किछि गोटे जिनस माने 100% रु आमे 110% बाहर करिया चक्कर रे एसो जिनस करू हला आ बहुत अधिक ए जिनस रो प्लीज डोंट ओवर डू इट सब सब आंसर एई भले यदि करियो ताले एग्जामिनर विल गेट इरिटेटेड इन सम आंसर्स स्पेसिफिकली जोतरे बहुत बेसी कंटेंट तुम पाखे नहीं कैन डू इट ओके सो दिस इज द एग्जांपल ऑफ गिमिक तुम कहूली कि नहीं गोटे बहुत ही गिमिक रो एग्जांपल कौन आई वाज टेलिंग पुलिस रिफॉर्म्स हियर यू आर सेइंग कि disorganized police went through police reforms became organized police this is an example of gimmick कि actually you are not adding any value to your answer but जबरदस्ती गोटे ठीक अछि जतले किछि कंटेंट नथियो तले कर दबो कंटेंट थिबो तले काइंडली डोंट डू such kind of things when you have enough content don't waste time like this now we come to this part key concepts now let me tell you ki examiner is someone who is not actually looking for information the examiner is looking for concept or ideas this is true for both essay and ethics in essay हमें value addition ने किसी report वोट भी लिखी दोतले data बेटा भी लिखी दोतले but ठीक अछि in ethics बहुत बेसिस से scope आसी ही नहीं rather you should focus on concept and ideas I had also told you this formula or not concept is much more important than information we discussed this so in concept you can impress the examiner भलो भलो concept देखी हमें डिस्कस करलु फॉर एग्जांपल सोशल रेमिटेंस सोसाइटी पार्ट रे एमते एग्जांपल हम डिस्कस करथिल आई हैड गिवन यू एन एग्जांपल ऑफ मिनिएचराइजेशन ऑफ इंडिया है ना अमर्त्य सेन हैड सेड दिस कि व्हेन यू आर ओवर सिंप्लीफाइंग इंडिया then you make a big India into a miniature version which is not a true version of this for example if someone is asking you what is the religion of India now you think religion of India is such a diverse topic so many things come under this माने different type of religion अच्छी different type of non religion अच्छी religion includes cultural aspects religion includes social aspects so many things are there fairs and festivals कितने सारे जिनिस अच्छी but if someone asks you tell me about religion of India you are saying कि religion of India means Hinduism or you can say any other thing you can say any single statement you are giving then what you are doing कि oversimplifying through रे you are miniaturize कर दो तुम that means कि अमर्त्य सेन is saying कि don't oversimplify anything ओवर सिंप्लीफाई हेले कोन हो हमर डाइवर्सिटी टा बहुत सिंप्लीफाई है कि ओटा सिंगल जिंस हो जाए व्हिच इज नॉट द रियल थिंग सो दिस इज अ कांसेप्ट दैट यू कैन राइट इन टॉपिक्स लाइक डाइवर्सिटी इन टॉपिक्स लाइक सेकुलरिज्म है ना in communalism, regionalism, all of these topics you can write. Miniaturization of India. So ମୁଁ ତୁମକୁ କହିଥିଲି ଏଇଭଳିଆ କିଛି କନସେପ୍ଟର କିଛି ଲିଷ୍ଟ ବନେଇବ ଯାହାକୁ କି ତୁମେ ଡାଇଭର୍ସ ୱେରେ ୟୁଜ କରିପାରିବ. So in essay, whatever we are using in essay, we can also use those concepts in ethics also. Okay. Now ethics specific କେତେ ଗୁଡ଼ା concept ଅଛି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ସବୁ next ଆସିବ. For example, different ethical philosophies. All of these will also come under different concepts. You can and you should write it. I'm telling you that in this exam, at least in OPSC, many people will leave the philosophy part. The philosophical foundation part ना बहुत पिला छाड़ दे because it is very complicated like that. Okay. But if you are able to understand, you can write these terms. You can write about moral relativism. You can write about deontological ethics. Okay. These are terms that you are going to use throughout the paper, and this will make your answer more enriched, more richer. Okay. Are you able to understand or not? किसी doubt हो तो? नहीं. ठीक है. Then let's move on to the yes.
सर कोई जिनसर फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन कहले कोन बुझा जाए टिके सिंपलीफाई करी कह दे.
हमें नेक्स्ट क्लास रे एमिति भी फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन डिटेल रे पढिया. बट यार माने कोन मु कहि दउछि.
सर
ओके चल.
खाली रिलेटेड नो माने को भी कांसेप्ट धर हला तार केमिति कोन फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन ता लिखि हबो.
ओके सेटा हमें पूरा डिटेल रे नेक्स्ट ईयर रे भी सब डिस्कस करिया हला. इन आंसर राइटिंग रे मु तुम शो करी. बट फॉर द टाइमिंग आई एम टेलिंग यू इन ब्रीफ. ओके बहुत ब्रीफली हमें केमिति कोन लिखिया. Philosophical foundation, if you see, there are three major types. One is Western philosophy, one is Indian philosophy. How would actually philosophy किछि नुह, but सेटा तुम governance part कहि पारि. चलो, if you are not writing this also, that is fine. In two parts you can write it. हमें को भी ethical dilemma आसला, और suppose ethical dilemma में नुह, static part रे भी और section A रे भी, suppose any ethics रो topic आसला, we can analyze the same topic through these lens. You can think of this as lens. माने आम एमती सपोज ब्लू कलर लेंस थ्रू रे वर्ल्ड को देखिया सब जिंस ब्लू ब्लू देखा जिवो. रेड कलर रे देखले सब जिंस रेड रेड देखा जिवो. तो these are those kind of lens through which you will analyze the same topic or same dilemma. To tell you an example, suppose western philosophy रे तीन चारटा मेजर चारि पांचटा मेजर philosophy अछि, ethics रो philosophy अछि. One for the example is utilitarianism. Another is deontological ethics, also known as categorical imperative, CI. Another is Aristotelian ethics, or this is also known as virtue ethics. Another ethics aspect is ethics as justice. Okay, justice approach. This is given by Rawls. So I'm telling you in a very brief. केमितिया तुम लिखियो. Suppose the question is ethics रो topic आछि कि crisis of conscience. You take it. Crisis of conscience. You think of one example. Suppose what is the crisis of conscience? Suppose you are very poor. Your mother is going to have an surgery. So you need money. तो पाखरे money नहीं. Now there is a very rich person, rich businessman, and you are posted as you are working as maybe a civil servant somewhere. Okay. So you have newly joined. A rich businessman comes and says कि sir, what has happened? कि sir कि madam, what has happened? कि देखो तो आमे गोटे एमितिया गोटे प्रोजेक्ट नहीं से प्रोजेक्ट रे आमे बहुत काम कला परे एतिकी मनी बळीची से मनी टा को कहीं क्लेम करू नाहंती. सो से मनी टा तो एमती भी वेस्ट हो. सो व्हाट यू शुड डू कि यू शुड कीप ए पार्ट ऑफ इट. ओके. सो नाउ you actually have necessity, and this money is being offered. This will help someone. Maybe it can save her life. Now this is crisis of conscience. Now we can analyze the same situation through different lenses. For example, one philosophy says कि देखो आमे सब को जिनस राइट और रॉन्ग केतले केमती जानिबा. आमे कहबा कि मैक्सिमम लोकंकर जदि बेनिफिट होची देन दैट इज राइट. जदि मिनिमम लोकंकर ता द्वारा लॉस होची देन इट इज फाइन. जदि ताठू याठू अधिक नंबर सपोज 9 जन लोकंकर किछि उटा लॉस होची बट 10 जन लोकंकर बेनिफिट होची देन आल्सो इट इज करेक्ट. देखो या भीतर आउरे बहुत डेप्थ रे भी बहुत एनालिसिस अछि. तापर भी बहुत डीप रे एनालिसिस अछि कि एई 9 लोकंकर सेमाने को टाइप रो लोक सपोज एई लोक भलो एमाने होचन गुड पीपल ए 10टा लोक होचन क्रिमिनल ताले हमें कोन कहया कि ताले हमें कहया कि नहीं एई लोकंकर 9 लोकंकर भलो हो बोली ओके वी आर नॉट गोइंग इनटू दैट डेप्थ राइट नाउ आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू वन काइंड ऑफ एनालिसिस और लेंस इज दैट मैक्सिमम लोकंकर बेनिफिट जोतरे हबो बर्तमान कथा होचे हमें देई पैसा वेस्ट जिबा को दबा कहार बेनिफिट हबो कहार भी बेनिफिट हबो किंतु एटा को तुम एक्सेप्ट करनो एटलीस्ट गोटे लोकर तो बेनिफिट हबो ना so in that regard we will say ki this action is justified and this philosophy is known as utilitarian philosophy utilitarian माने utility ru आसी what utility माने use को एक्शन न केते यूज अछि हमें कहे कि एई एक्शन टा बेसी यूजफुल बेसी नंबर ऑफ लोक पय हमें बहुत डिटेल ले ता विषय पढे यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म माने कोन मैक्सिमम हैप्पीनेस फॉर मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ पीपल देयर इज वन कांसेप्ट व्हिच इज नोन एज फिलोसॉफिक कैलकुलस तार माने कोन सब जिंस विषय हम डिटेल ले जीवा आज but you will say ki okay from this perspective this is correct but there is another perspective which will say ki तुमे को पर्पस रे करूछो that doesn't matter actually action टा justified or not actually action टा माने मोरल की नुह सेटा ही डिटरमाइन करिवो कि से एंटायर डिसीजन टा मोरल की नुह फॉर एग्जांपल ए जो मनी नबा itself माने this amounts to bribe so bribe accept करिया on any ground is not acceptable and this approach is known as Kant ei approach देइथिले deontological ethics also known as categorical imperative तमे कहया from that perspective this is wrong then there is another perspective John Rawls देइथिले Rawls कहले कि आमे सब action को देखिया from behind the veil of ignorance I will again explain all of these things today I am just telling you माने गुड briefly कोच Rawls कहले कि आमे देखिबा कि से action टा that should have been taken from behind माने that should have taken without knowing कि who it will benefit हमें without knowing anything कि कहा को एटा बेनिफिट करियो if you can understand कि केमिति हमें एक्शन नवा कथा then that action should be taken यार माने कोन माने सपोज there is a certain amount of money suppose 1000 rupees तुम पकरे अछि and there are 10 people okay your duty is to distribute this money to this number of people if you know that one of these people is your friend or even you तुमे तार गोटे पार्ट नबो ताले तुमे आगुरु जानी कि कोन करियो तुमे कहयो कि मु नै जी 500 टंका बाकी जो 500 टंका को से बाकी 9 जन को डिवाइड कर दिए जो इक्वली सो Rawls कहयो कि this is not how you should do what you should do is कि without knowing कि से पैसा टा कहा को केते जीवो you should take a decision so when you don't know how many should you give to other people then what you will do तुमे इक्वली डिवाइड करियो जदि तुमको जाना नै कि तुमको को पार्ट टा मिलियो ताले तुमे कोन कहयो तुमे भाबे कि मु सब इक्वली डिवाइड कर देई तेणु इक्वली डिवाइड कर समस्त 100 टका मिलियो मते तो कम से कम 100 तो मिलियो बुझी होची सो दिस इज नोन एज वेल ऑफ इग्नोरेंस रो गोटा पर्दा पछरु हमें डिसीजन नोचे ओके चलो एई वे रे तो टाको एनालिसिस करियाटा टिके डिफिकल्ट बट दिस इज वन सच वे लेंस थ्रू व्हिच यू कैन अप्रोच डिफरेंट एथिकल डिलेमा सिमिलरली देयर इज अनदर Aristotle कौन कहले Aristotle वाज ऑल अबाउट virtues and vices माने से कहे virtue माने भलो जिंस कोन ओके भलो गुण कोन एटा होचे खराब गुण से कहे जदी भलो गोटे एक्शन टा भलो गुण रे जाउची ताले से एक्शन टा को हम करि परिया ओके तो एथरे भलो गुण खराब गुण कोन देखो एथरे भलो गुण होची बेनिफिसेंस माने कहार जने बेनिफिट हबो लाइफ सेव करि हबो खराब गुण होची ब्राइबरी नबार्ड इटसेल्फ करप्शन corruptibility itself is a bad thing so virtues and vices एई वे हमें डिसाइड कर माने डिसीजन माने हमें कंपेयर करके हम जहाले गोटे डिसीजन नबा एथरे virtues भी अछि vices भी अछि my point is this is the meaning of philosophical foundation the term itself means entire ethics or ethical reasoning is based on certain basic pillars these are the basic pillars western country रे बहुत सारा अछि इंडियन पार्ट को मु आसिली नहीं बहुत सारा से बुद्धिज्म जैनिज्म बहुत सारा जिंस रो आसी चलो हम पर डिस्कस करिया एथिकल फिलोसफी मोरल फिलोसफी पार्ट रे डिस्कस करिया my point is these are the pillars means एई बेसिस रे हमें पूरा एंटायर स्ट्रक्चर पर छिड़ाई छी ethics ro okay so that is why initially I wanted to our second class is on philosophy because if you see in the syllabus this philosophy part comes bit later but mu janni kahi ki samane syllabus ko ei way design karchin I think the first few things should be on the philosophical foundation because without the foundation you will not be able to understand ethics okay this is the meaning of ethical foundation different basic ethical perspective ru ame ସବୁ ଜିନିଷକୁ analysis କରିବା ବୁଝି ହଉଛି any doubt so far no ठीक ଅଛି then let's move on to आज आम बहुत बेसी पढ़ानी मैंने 8:30 जाए पढ़ानी मोस्ट प्रोबेबली 8:15 8:20 अराउंड 15 मिनिट्स आगर मुझे छाड़देवी बिकॉज टुडे इज द बहुत ही कौन कह बहुत ही डिफरेंट डाइवर्स जिनस आम देखुचु आज काइंडली टेक डाउन रनिंग नोट स्टार्टिंग रू कही आज ये नोटा बहुत काम दब फॉर द एंटायर योर एथिक्स सेशन ओके so and if possible today also you should try to revise go through the notes okay if you are able to understand because this is the framework today we are discussing framework का यदि strong ना हो entire ethics class में जानची बहुत लोग कौन करते पूरा starting रू they will start the class from what is ethics okay so we are not going through that approach yes anyone wants to ask something no ठीक है okay so let us move to the next part now I'm trying to explain to you ki what is the essence of ethics okay once you understand the essence of ethics na what will happen is that one moral reasoning will become strong you understand this term moral reasoning माने कौन लागु तुम कौन माने हितियो anyone
on the basis of morality.
okay बहुत ही simple जिनस can you give an example moral reasoning का माने कौन okay चलो example ना let me tell you something actually if you see the entire case studies माने entire section B is not at all about what is your final decision that you are taking not at all though I'm not saying कि पूरा completely wrong decision नबो decision तो तुम finally correct ही नवार अछि but what is more important is the moral reasoning behind it तमे कहयो कि सपोज तुम गोटे केस स्टडी दिया हितियो कि एमितिया गोटे एथिकल डिलेमा हेगला तुम कोन करियो the examiner doesn't want to know कि तुम exactly करियो कोन but he or she wants to know कि तुम केमती ताको justify करछो if you can justify it well then you will get good marks if you cannot justify it just लिखि देछो कि मु एई decision नेबी even if that decision is morally or ethically justified still you will not good marks if you have not justified it, if you have not written moral reasoning so let me give you an example suppose the question is related to free speech okay free speech versus surveillance the question will be ki, whether speech should be free completely free or should there be any limit to free speech now I want some of your answers तुमको कौन लागु should there be completely free speech or should there be any limitations on how much or what people can say what do you think tell me many people are silent please participate okay girls specifically many of you girls I know you are writing very well I don't know why you are not participating किछि एमती feel करूछ किछि कि will not be able to contribute very well or something please participate Varsha are you there Varsha Subhasri please tell me what are your thoughts I think this is your arena free speech was actually your voice is not coming very clear can you speak a bit clearly hello
सर मते लागुची स्पीच माने पीपल माने कोठी कहिबे केते कहिबे ता ऊपर रेस्ट्रिक्शन न देकी को प्लेस पे केते कोन कुहाबो ता ऊपर रेस्ट्रिक्शन होबा दरकार
हाँ that is what I'm saying कि माने ସେମାନେ कौन को से कंटेंट ऊपर ही हम कथा हो suppose we are saying कि if we are saying कि free speech समस्त हमें दे दवा okay suppose someone will say कि हमें hate speech भी आसी जो someone will say कि चलो will say कि this community should be exterminated so now here comes the problem or suppose even if not hate speech someone is giving a speech which is against the government or any government action suppose this kind of example suppose example ki someone is saying something which some section of people will find offensive okay should that kind of speech be limited or will say no nothing is limited everyone can say everything good thing also will hear bad thing also will hear if someone is saying bad thing we'll counter that by saying other good things what do you think आम सर्विलांस पार्ट को जाई ना हेड स्पीच चलो एटा काटी दियो हेड स्पीच इन जनरल और फ्री स्पीच इन जनरल व्हाट डू यू थिंक शुड देयर बी should speech be completely free anyone else
हेलो
Sir,
सर
some restriction should be there, sir.
restriction
Should be there.
why do you think there should be restriction
Uh,
नहले कहे आमे तार
sir,
मिसयूज होची
हाँ sir, hate
है ना
speech should
मिसयूज
content.
होची ताको कंट्रोल करिया वेरी गुड यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अनदर एग्जांपल अनदर टाइप ऑफ स्पीच कंटेम्प्ट आमे कहा अगेंस्ट और सॉरी सपोज यू आर कंटेम्प्ट अगेंस्ट द कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट you are saying
Yes,
something against the judges itself the judges are very corrupt or something that is an example of contempt you can give example of defamation
yes,
okay
sir.
suppose someone will say ki Subhasri is this and that is really bad so it's you are also offended ମୁଁ ତ କିଛି କରିନି ମୋ ନାଁରେ ଜଣେ କାହିଁକି ଏତେ କଥା କହୁଛି all of these things so there is one argument can be made not one many arguments can be made that free speech should be restricted there should not be completely free speech I'm giving you a very well known case there is a very well known judge known as Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes he had given a very nice example এই ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲଟା ସବୁଥର ପ୍ରାୟ free speech ଉପରେ use କରାଯାଏ you don't have the free speech to shout fire in a crowded theater you don't have the free speech to shout fire in a crowded theater ତା ମାନେ କଣ crowded theater ରେ ତମେ ମିଛରେ ଯଦି fire fire ବୋଲି ଚିଲେଇବ କଣ ହବ ଲୋକମାନେ ଦଳା ଚକଟାରେ ମରିଯିବେ stampede ରେ ମରିଯିବେ now when you are being prosecuted you will say କି ମୁଁ shout ଯୋଉ କଲି it was part of my free speech now because of your right to free speech some people have lost their lives so this justice ଆମେରିକାର justice Oliver Wendell Holmes ସେ ଗୋଟେ ବଢିଆ କଥା କହିଥିଲେ କି ଏଇଟା free speech ଭିତରେ ଆସୁନି this is one example we can give a number of such very nice quotations are there but then it will be countered that suppose you are saying कि आमे को by the way आमे गोटे केस रे free speech विषय रे कथा होना आमे एई सब various cases विषय रे गोटे broad perspective रो आमे discuss करछु so तारो counter एटा हबो if you are not providing people free speech then why should you have speech at all in the sense कि free speech should include the right to offend people I will say कि यार point कोन आमे people को offend करिया पई थोड़ी ना speech कहया आमे भलो भलो कथा कहया पई कहया then they will say कि if all the things that we were allowed to speak were very nice things to each other then we will not be able to discuss anything of importance माने होची suppose all we could say to each other were very agreeable things आमे सबु देखा हवा आमे कहे कि wow Himanshu you are looking very nice Himanshu will say कि sir you are looking very nice okay someone will tell Alora कि okay everything is going fine in the country Alora will also agree yes everything is going fine तो कथा होची हम समस्त agreeable कथा ही कहबे can we discuss the important things in our life can we discuss how we should run the government how we should run the government whether people should have different kinds of rights whether it is justified to maybe allow very sick people to die which we are talking about euthanasia all of these are you see most of the important things in our life are controversial things whether you realize this or not the very thing about think about this procreation many aspects related to this are controversial aspects like abortion this is controversial aspect like how you should raise our children this is also controversial in the sense that you see many people when people are not parents they will criticize other people कि अरे तुम पिलांको एमितिया पढ़ौछ समितिया पढ़ौछ when they become parents they will become blind to the actions of their own children ठीक है now when you try to criticize them they will not agree with you many things most of the things which are important in our life are controversial that means that is the reason why we have free speech that different people can come up with different ideas even if it is to offend someone and the second part is ki if how will we progress how will society progress society will only progress when we take in the information or different kind of opinions of different people even if we don't agree with them think about this aspect that at one time it was believed that the earth is the center of the universe ଏଇଟା କୁହା ହଉଥିଲା କି ବାଇବଲ ରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରି ସବୁ ଜାଗାରେ ଲେଖା ହେଇଥିଲା କି ଅର୍ଥ ଚାରିକଡେ ପୁରା ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାର ୟୁନିଭର୍ସ ବୁଲୁଛି ସନ୍ ବି ଚାରିକଡେ ବୁଲୁଛି so that is what they saw but when some people started saying some scientists started saying you know earth is not the center we think the sun is the center of our solar ଆମର यूनिवर्स चलो सेटा भी भूल कहले इन जनरल से माने एटा कहले कि अर्थ मूव्स अराउंड द सन नॉट द अदर वे अराउंड नाउ सम पीपल वर द अथॉरिटी फिगर्स वर ऑफेंडेड कि हमें तो ई कथा कहू तुम कोन अपोजिट कथा कहू नाउ दे थ्रू देम आउट बट दीस पीपल कंटिन्यूड सेइंग दिस दे कंटिन्यूड प्रोवाइडिंग एविडेंस साइंटिफिक रिसर्च चलला तापर फाइनली overall most of the people accepted it. Now think if at that time society had suppose killed all these people or ସେମାନେ जबरदस्ती ତାଙ୍କୁ silence कर दिया होता although ଏଟା भी ହେଇଥିଲା they tried to silence it but obviously you cannot silence everyone. Now you think if we completely eliminated this idea कि the earth moves around the sun ताले ଆମେ केबे एई truth टाको discover करि परथांते कि finally ଆମେ कर पर नथांते only because some people who provided the opposite idea and this idea remained in the popular consciousness then only we finally found out the truth. And George Bernard Shaw, he said a very nice line. He said that the path to truth or something more exactly manapani the path to truth is littered with discarded dogmas something like that. माने dogma जहाँ भी आगुरु थिला से सब discard ही जाइछ बहुत सारा माने all of these are discarded myths finally you will reach the truth. So this is one argument. My point is it's not always very simple to say कि आमे गोटे stand ही नहीं जिबाटा बहुत simple no. You can provide and you should provide actually different arguments for the same and argument and counter argument.
Sir, we can say कि free speech is required for democracy, but constructive criticism will strengthen the democracy.
Correct. सेटा होचे argument रे तुम मतलब कहयो कि नहीं free speech should be limited. When you are arguing कि free speech should be limited, you can give these kind of examples. When you are providing counter argument, then you will give these kind of examples. आमे अबे जो कथा है. Okay. Then finally you will say कि conclusion कौन हबो? Final conclusion तुमरो जहाँ भी stand अछि, you can take a middle path also. But finally तुमरो जहाँ भी stand अछि, you will explain that. For example, in this case, free speech and all, you will finally say कि देखो इटा argument अछि, इटा counter argument अछि, कि नहीं free speech should be absolutely free. But finally what we are saying कि हमें बहुत ही idealistic, बेसी idealistic हबा नहीं. Because too much idealistic है कि हमें कहया कि चलो speech को free speech हमें कर दो 100% कर दो आदि, then it will be difficult to implement it in an imperfect society. आम society तो perfect नहीं, तो society perfect है जो तो हमें perfect ideal को implement कर करेगा perfectly. But because right now it is not perfect and there are many people who will abuse this right, therefore right now we should not implement it in 100%. And you will say कि चलो what we should do conclusion ताले कौन होगा कि it's better to have a functional but imperfect system than a utopian or ideal but perfect system. देखो एटा को भी तुम कोटेशन लिख परियो तुम निजर स्टेटमेंट यार माने कोन आमे कहूची कि आमे केतेले गोटे परफेक्ट सिस्टम को एक्सेप्ट एमती यदि कर देल कि एटा परफेक्ट अछि बट दैट इज नॉट प्रैक्टिकल प्रैक्टिकली ताको इंप्लीमेंट करिया डिफिकल्ट सेही भला सिस्टम को आमे एक्सेप्ट करिया नाही रादर व्हाट इज बेटर कि इम्परफेक्ट हो पछे दैट शुड बी वर्किंग यदि वर्क करछ यदि परफेक्ट है कि एटा वर्क न करछ ताले एटा को आमे इंप्लीमेंट करि ही परिबे सो दिस इज द अल्टरनेटिव दैट स्पीच को आमे रखिया फ्री ऑलमोस्ट फ्री रखिया विथ सम रेस्ट्रिक्शन this is what imperfect but it is working instead you are saying कि completely 100% free speech कर देले कोन हबो ताको implement करिया difficult हबो आमे जो दिन कह दिया कि स्पीच पूरा फ्री जे जहां परियो कहि परियो you will start seeing कि एबे तो ऑलरेडी रेस्ट्रिक्शन थाई कि you see what is the level of politician माने जो माने each other को abuse करछन what do you think will be the outcome when you say कि नहीं किए किछि कहले भी किछि असुविधा नहीं हमें डिफेमेशन लॉ को ही पूरा काटि दो डिफेमेशन बोली किछि जिंस रखे ही नहीं so you will see today what the government ministers and the opposition what they are telling each other jahan name calling chalichi you see what the level they are falling to when you say कि 100% free speech है so we'll say कि हमें perfect गोटे utopia पछन न जाए कि imperfect जिंस करे you analyze this in this way suppose analysis हमें ए way रे करिया कि socialism and capitalism this is also one of the criticism is that सोशलिज्म ता बहुत ही आइडियल आमे कहे कि हमर सब जहा रिसोर्सेस हबो आमे समस्त आडो को परफेक्टली इक्वली डिवाइड कर दा बट द प्रॉब्लम होची कि पीपल आर नॉट परफेक्ट सोसाइटी इज नॉट परफेक्ट जेतले गोटे लोक को जाना पड़े कि मु किछ काम न करके वो जिंस फ्री रे पाइबी he will not work she will not work what will happen कि finally a large section of people not working will depend on a small section of people working so मैंने ताको subsidize कला होले and finally this system would collapse complete socialism कथा कहउछ welfare socialism कथा हम कोन on the other hand capitalism is not perfect it is an imperfect solution it is saying कि जीए जते एक्सटेंट रे काम करियो से सेति के एक्सटेंट रे पैसा पाइबो जे माने काम न करियो ता पाखरे रिसोर्सेस किछ होबन इवन दिस इज अब्यूज्ड बिजनेसमैन माने एटा को अब्यूज करिए बट कथा होची अगेन सी इट इज imperfect but it is working or not it actually works better than this you see the condition of USA versus USSR now we are taking a middle ground that's a separate issue what we will say ki my point was that it is better to have functional but imperfect system rather than a utopian but perfect system okay एतरे बुझी होची कि नहीं
हेलो सर सर
हाँ
एथरे माने कंक्लूजन रे आम एमती किछि रिटोरिक क्वेश्चन दे कि एमती कंक्लूड कर परिबे कि फॉर एग्जांपल माने मो कंपेन कोची आपण एक रिसेंटली जो केस है तो देखते हैं कि हार्वर्ड पेन यूनिवर्सिटीज रे लाइक टू
हाँ
कॉल
हाँ
फॉर द जेनोसाइड इज ताको
जेनोसाइड
फ्री
से
स्पेस
कहले किछि
तो
yes
सेन फ्री स्पीच रखा होचे तो तो सेटा गोटे फ्री स्पीच रो गोटे एस्पेक्ट बट हुआ टू ड्रॉ द लाइन माने गोटे में जेनो गोटे
सेटा तमे
कम्युनिटी जेनोसाइड को
कंक्लूजन न लिखि कि सेटा तमे एग्जांपल ले लिखि दबो
तो
कि
सेटा
देखो
काउंटर
फ्री
आर्गुमेंट भी सॉरी आर्गुमेंट भी
हाँ
है परिबो
हाँ
कि
हाँ
टू
हाँ हाँ
रेस्ट्रिक्ट फ्री स्पीच
श्योर यू कैन गिव बट सेटा कंक्लूड करने और स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल ले तुम कंक्लूड कहीं करो स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल से रेटोरिक की कंक्लूजन मान सॉरी एग्जांपल स्पेसिफिक लिखिया कथा नो स्पेसिफिक जिंस रखो बट एग्जांपल रे एंड करनी इट विल बी लाइक कि एज इफ यू आर सेइंग कि दैट इज द क्वेश्चन क्वेश्चन तो सेटा नथला ना कि हार्वर्ड रे जो माने प्रो इजराइल सॉरी प्रो पैलेस्टाइन और एंटी इजराइल स्टैंड जो निया गला दैट इज नॉट द क्वेश्चन क्वेश्चन इज इन जनरल अबाउट फ्री स्पीच दे विल नॉट आस्क यू कि हार्वर्ड रे कोन स्टैंड निया गला कि तांकर कांग्रेस रे यूएस कांग्रेस और सेनेट रे कोन डिसीजन निया गला दे विल नॉट आस्क यू दैट क्वेश्चन बिकॉज़ दैट इज नॉट रेलेवेंट टू इंडिया इन जनरल दे विल आस्क यू क्वेश्चन ऑन फ्री स्पीच so here you can give many examples one of the example will be this thing conclusion should not be in an example conclusion should be a generic statement गोटे specific जिंस भी पकेबे देखो एथिरे तुम specific जिंस कोन पकेबो तो कहबे आर्टिकल 19 क्लॉज 2 दिस इज वन ग्राउंड हला फॉर फ्री स्पीच माने आर्टिकल 19 क्लॉज 1 सब क्लॉज ए फ्री स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन यारो रेस्ट्रिक्शन होचे आर्टिकल 19 क्लॉज 2 so you can end like this for example constitution also itself provides some restriction to free speech as contained under article 19 clause 2 so this shows that we should try to take a middle ground ये वाला किसी conclude कर पारे so you are also writing a specific thing but you are not ending with an example man example in the sense which पाछो case study रे end करियो नहीं आंसर case study टा हम body part रखियो ना value addition
ओके
में
सर ओके
okay let me give you another example today and this will be the last example for today yes
सर इटे जेएस मिल को भी तो कोट करि परिबा लाइक वन ऑफ हिज फेमस कोटेशन इफ ऑल मैनकाइंड माइनस वन वर वन ऑफ वन ओपिनियन
yeah
and
opinion
only one
that
person were
heretic also
wrong.
needs yes excellent excellent certainly he
body
needs extra protection he'll say ki that single heretic needs extra protection it is the moral duty of the society to protect himself but କଥା ହଉଛି ଏ ସବୁ body ରେ ଆସେ ଏଟା ଗୋଟେ argument କି counter argument under ରେ ଆସିବ ଏଟାକୁ end କରିବ ନା okay yes
sir
any
sir body re sir the concept of whistleblower like it can be used to reveal the corrupt and unlawful actions like that एमती किछि मेंशन करा है परिबो कि
whistleblower specific होची again whistleblower can that be so କଥା ହଉଛି whistleblower ଟା ବହୁତ ହି specific ହେଇଯାଉଛି within ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ category single category ଭିତରେ ଆସିଯାଉଛି which is related to corruption in public sphere तो in general free speech ଭିତରେ ବହୁତ ସାରା ଜିନିଷ ଆସୁଛି ତା ଭିତରେ ଗୋଟେ ହଉଛି କି whistleblowers ମାନଙ୍କର ରୋଲ ଗୋଟେ ତ ସେଥିରେ ଆମେ end କରିବାଠୁ better ହଉଛି ଏଇଟା entirely free speech ମାନେ speech ର restriction ଉପରେ ଗୋଟେ overall ଜିନିଷ ହେଲା ground for reasonable restriction on free speech if you see this is the article 19 clause 2 so it is better to have an overall specific but overall thing rather than a specific but narrow thing ये सब जिनसर डिफरेंस कोन माने as you keep on writing answer you'll get इवैल्यूएटेड कॉपी तो इवैल्यूएटेड हे चलतो यू विल बेटर बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि कोथरे हम एंड करिया कौन कंक्लूजन करिया यू विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. Okay, one last example for today. आमे गोटे सिंगल केस नवा. Let's say killing. Is killing justified or not? What do you think? Is the action of killing ethical or unethical?
So self defense पे justified.
Okay, very good. So you have thought of one example where, or one category where killing will be justified. You are saying कि self defense is justified. Is there any other category in which killing will be justified?
So national
national interest.
security.
Very good. National interest. ଏବେ ତମେ କହ କି ନାଇଁ ସୋଲଜର ମାନଙ୍କୁ ବି ସେଲ୍ଫ ସପୋଜ वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स वी आर गोइंग इनसाइड पाकिस्तान टू एलिमिनेट सम टेररिस्ट ତମେ କହିବ କି ନାଇଁ କିଲିଂ ଇଜ ଏ ବ୍ୟାଡ ଥିଙ୍ଗ ସୋଲଜର ମାନଙ୍କୁ କହିବ ତ ସେମାନେ କଣ କହିବେ କିଛି ନାହିଁ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଏନିଥିଙ୍ଗ ଏଲ୍ସ
For social harmony in large scale.
ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଇୟର ସୋସିଆଲ ହାରମୋନି ତ କଣ ମାରିଦବ କି କାହାକୁ ମାରିବ ତମେ କାହାକୁ ମାରିବ କୁହ ଦେଖ ତମେ यू माइट बी करेक्ट आई डोंट नो मे बी आई एम मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग यू बट टेल मी कौन को जिनसे जस्टिफाई कर परियो सोशल हार्मनी केमती हो
So for
ओके
example,
कुह
Capital punishment.
Very good. I was just going to say criminal, for example. You are saying किसी criminal अछन ସେମାନେ society रे काहे रहबे तांको हमें and you are going capital punishment कथा. Yes, yes you can say. But another argument will go कि हमें kill काहे करे हमें तांको गोटे जेल रे बंद कर रखे ना हमें तांको आजीवन कारावास भी कर परिया. Is it necessary to actually kill them? That is the question. I'm giving you
Sir,
a
some of
few
the
points.
crimes are so deplorable that capital
Very
punishment
good,
can be
very good.
justified.
देखो बेले
The
बेले कौन
Nirbhaya
हो
case.
in general. Yes, निर्भया case there. सेतले हम कहे कि it's not even about keeping someone for imprisoned for a long time. The crime itself is so heinous. The word you should use ki heinous crime. Crime itself is so heinous कि it now becomes our moral duty to actually kill that person. Society in general. Okay. Second part तो एथिरे हम जुडिशियल एस्पेक्ट भी आसे कथा होछि कि से क्रिमिनल को तो एमनी संगे संग हैंगिंग कर दिया हो ना इनफैक्ट इफ यू आर विजिलेंट जस्टिस जदी ताको दिया होछि सपोज लोक माने धरि ताको बाडेले इवन ताको भी हमें कंडेम करिया था कहे कि एटा करेक्ट नो दैट इज नॉट एथिकल जुडिशियल ट्रायल गोटा हो फ्री एंड फेयर ट्रायल हो तापर एटा प्रूफ हे गला बियॉन्ड रीजनेबल डाउट कि हां से लोक ही सही काम करछि देन यू कैन माने फांसी देई हो श्योर दैट इज वन I want to give you a certain another perspective. I'm trying to explain to you ethics is not a simple thing. There are multiple aspects. Now, have you heard of this case? Sentinel's Island. What island ଅଛି India ର ସେ island ଟା ହଉଛି ଗୋଟେ isolated island. ଏଠି ଯୋଉ ଆଣ୍ଡାମାନ ନିକୋବର ରେ ଅଛି ସେ island ର ଲୋକମାନେ they are very tribal people. They don't want any contact with any outsiders. Now there was one Christian missionary, John Chow or something. चलो नाम का important no. So what he was a very mad person. So CSA कहला कि I'm going to spread Christianity in this area. So से जबरदस्ती even government has prohibited माने ये island को prohibit करा है कि ये जाई परिवे ना. Government is protecting them. And the reason for protection is also multiple reasons भी ଅଛି. For example, if a normal person goes to this area, simple ଗୋଟେ cold virus भी आंख ଭିତରେ spread ହେଇଯିବ entire population ମରିଯିବ and they are the aboriginals or sorry local indigenous population. ହେଲା they also have genetic heritage which is unique ଆଉ କୋଉଠି ସେଟା ମିଳେ ନାହିଁ ବାହାର ଲୋକଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗେ କଣ୍ଟାକ୍ଟ ଆସିଲେ ସିମ୍ପଲ ଭାଇରସ ବ୍ୟାକ୍ଟେରିଆରେ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାର ପପୁଲେସନ ସାଫ ହେଇଯିବ ଫର ଦ୍ୟାଟ ପର୍ସପେକ୍ଟିଭ ଅଲସୋ इंडियन गवर्नमेंट हैज प्रोहिबिटेड कि जाई परिबेनी तो दिस क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी कौन कला व्हाट ही डिड वाज दैट he took a boat जबरदस्ती सेटू जाई he was trying to reach contact the people tribal people and he was trying to convert them what the tribal people did was that धनु तीर धरिकी bow and arrow रे ताको मारि देले now tell me was this killing ethical or unethical but how this missionary was not harming them he was not going to माने से तो किछि अटैक करया को आसी नथि ओके although this part you can say कि चलो ता देहरे किसी वायरस वायरस तांदा है मरी suppose क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी कहूँ कि नहीं मुझे जाई तांग से कथा ही कि बस आस्थानी is this killing justified or not? Think
Yes, sir.
Yes,
it is
sir.
justified. Why
Sir,
is it
ଏଥିରେ କଣ
justified?
ହବ କି ସେମାନେ unknowingly like they are protecting their existence.
Okay. So tell me something. Did the tribe have any choice to kill the person or not? Tribe पाखरे किसी choice थिला kill करिया को न करिया को?
Sir, maybe
Christian
not.
missionary.
Like they might not have seen a different color of person, different person of color.
No,
So
they have seen, that is a fact. They have seen, but they don't allow anyone to come to their island. Both आगରୁ ବି ପୁରୁଣା time ରେ ବି ସେମାନଙ୍କର contact ହେଇଥିଲା. In fact, one of the reasons for their aggression is that ଆଗରୁ English people ଯୋଉ colonial people ଥିଲେ ନା ସେମାନେ ଥରେ ଆସିକି ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରୁ କିଛି ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଜବରଦସ୍ତି ବାନ୍ଧିକି ନେଇଗଲେ. ତାପରେ mainland ରେ ସେ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରୁ maximum ଲୋକ ମରିଗଲେ because as we discussed କି ସେମାନେ ଯେହେତୁ isolated ହେଇକି ରହିଛନ୍ତି ବହୁତ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ରୋଗରେ ବି ସେମାନେ ମରିଯିବେ ସେମାନଙ୍କର bodyର immunity develop ହେଇନି. ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରୁ maximum ଲୋକ mainland ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ମରିଗଲେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶର ମାନେ ଚିଡ଼ିକି ଆସିକି ତାଙ୍କୁ ବାକି ଯେତେ ଜଣ ବଞ୍ଚିଥିଲେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେଲେ. ନା ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେଲେ ଏମାନେ ସେ କଥାଟା ସ୍ପ୍ରେଡ କରିଦେଲେ କି କହିଦେଲେ କି ଆମ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଏଇ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ହେଇଥିଲା ଆମକୁ ଟର୍ଚର କରାଯାଇଥିଲା ଲୋକ ମରିଗଲେ ଦେନ୍ ଦେ ଡେଭଲପଡ ଦିସ୍ ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡିଂ କି ଆଉଟସାଇଡର୍ସ ଆର୍ ବ୍ୟାଡ୍ ଏମାନେ ଆମକୁ କରପ୍ଟ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଏମାନେ ଆମକୁ ମାରି ଦଉଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଆମକୁ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ଟ କରିବା ପାଇଁ after generation they have kept this community memory alive ki outsiders are bad ame kahaku allow karibu nahi. Now from this perspective you tell me did they have any choice to kill or not? This is also see this is the complicacy କେତେ ଆସୁଛି ଦେଖ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ କଥା ହେଲା କ୍ରିଶ୍ଚିଆନ ମିଶନାରୀ ଇଏ ତ ଏଠୁ ସେଠୁ ଯିବା ହିଁ କଥା ନୁହଁ କାହିଁକି ନା ବାବୁ ତମେ କାହିଁକି କନଭର୍ସନ କରିବାକୁ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଯିବ ସେଇ ଯୋଉ ଟ୍ରାଇବାଲ ମାନେ ଥିଲେ ସେମାନଙ୍କର କଣ ଦରକାର ଜିସସ୍ କ୍ରାଇଷ୍ଟଙ୍କ ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣିବା କିଛି ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ they are living a good life themselves. Did they ask for your intervention? Did they ask for salvation? They are happy in their life, they did not ask for you. Second କଥା ହେଲା you violated a law है ना national law को you violate करी गलो तुम एटा इलीगल काम कल. थर्ड कथा ला अगेन यू मे बी डिड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड बट यू शुड हैव नोन कि तुम देहरे जो जॉनसन वायरस अछि से तांकर एंटायर पॉपुलेशन को मार दे पारे. So from his perspective the whatever action he did was completely wrong. My question is कि does that level of wrongness does it justify the killing? Now you think from the side of the tribal. आमे ट्राइबल साइड रे बुझिबा आमे या क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी साइड रे आमे से लोक साइड रे देखलु कि एटा completely wrong action थिला. But was it so wrong? For example, like Nirvaya rapist, ki he should have been killed. Is it that kind of wrong? No, it's a different kind of wrong. And not that level. See, even wrongness or rightness of level ଅଛି କି ନାହିଁ ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକ ବ୍ରେଡ ଚୋରି କରିବା और ଖାଇବା ଚୋରି କରିବା ଫୁଡ ଚୋରି କରିବା ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକ ମନି ଚୋରି କରିବା ୟା ଭିତରେ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ଅଛି କି ନାହିଁ ଆମେ ଏଇ ଲୋକକୁ ଜେଲ ପଠେଇ ଦଉ ଯୋଉ ଲୋକ ଖାଇବା ଚୋରି କରୁଛି ଆମେ ତାକୁ ଧରି ବାଡେଇବା କି ତାକୁ ଆମେ ଖାଇବାକୁ ଦବା ସେଟା ଲୋକଟା ଭୋକ ବେଳେ ଖାଉଛି ମୋ କହିବା କଥା ଷ୍ଟିଲିଂ ରେ ବି ଲେଭେଲ ଯେମିତିଆ ଅଛି ସେମିତିଆ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଆକ୍ସନ ର ବି ଲେଭେଲ ଅଛି wrongness ର ଲେଭେଲ ଅଛି. Should this person be killed? Now think from the perspective of tribals. First କଥା ହଉଛି did they have a choice? Actually they had action wise ତ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ choice ଥିଲା. They could have ମାନେ ଧନୁତୀର ସେମାନେ ମାରି ପାରିଥାନ୍ତେ or ନ ମାରି ପାରିଥାନ୍ତେ. That was a choice. But think of ତାଙ୍କର thought process. Did they have a choice in that sense? ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ହେଇପାରେ କି social group ରେ ତମ ପାଖରେ ଏତେ peer pressure ଆସିବ କି you have to do it. In that sense you actually don't have the choice. ତମ ପାଖରେ actually choice ନାହିଁ. You have illusion of choice. ତୁମକୁ ragging କରାହଉଛି suppose. Then do you have a choice? You don't have a choice. You have to do it. Now think of another perspective. Now no one was ragging them. ସେମାନେ ନିଜେ ହିଁ ସେ action ନେଲେ. But think from this perspective कि over a generation after generation ତାଙ୍କ thought process ହିଁ ଏମିତି ହେଇଯାଇଛି कि they are not able to see the counter perspective. काउंटर व्यू को ସେମାନେ ଦେଖି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଯଦି କାଉଣ୍ଟର ଭ୍ୟू को ଦେଖି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଗୋଟେ ହିଁ ଭ୍ୟू ଦେଖି ପାରୁଛନ୍ତି कि आउटसाइडर ଆସିଲା ମାନେ ଆମେ ଆମର death is certain. Then that means practically they did not have a choice. ବୁଝିହଉଛି ମୁଁ କଣ କହୁଛି? My point finally I'll tell you कि even I am undecided. I am personally undecided whether it deserved killing or not. ମତେ ବି ଜଣା ନାହିଁ कि actually କଣ action ନବାର ଥିଲା. Although I know कि that missionary should not have gone there. But for some reason I feel कि okay, but did he deserve to die? Maybe not. I cannot tell you which is the correct action or no. What I'm trying to tell you, if you go into enough depth of moral reasoning, you will find many arguments and counter arguments for the same thing. Surface level ରେ ବହୁତ easy ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଯୋଉଟା ଲାଗୁଥିବ ଯେତେ depth ଯିବ ସେତେ argument counter argument ପାଇବ. And this is the essence of ethics. Essence of ethics is moral reasoning, to which depth you are able to go. जते डेप्थ रे तुम जिनस को एक्सप्लेन कर पारे सेते बेसी मार्क पाए. आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड और नॉट? କିଛି डाउट ଅଛି ଏଥିରେ?
सर बट एग्जाम हॉल रे में एते तो स्कोप रहबन ना माने आर्गुमेंट काउंट
ना ना
करबन
एते
तार
एते स्कोप नो जे एटलीस्ट गोटे आर्गुमेंट संगे गोटे काउंटर आर्गुमेंट तो एटलीस्ट गोटे दो.
ओके
सेटा मु तुमको कहूची. ओके, मो कहर रीजन ले कि मैक्सिमम लोक कोन करिवे गोटे सिंगल माने यदि किछ गोटे जिंस गोटे आसीची गोटे टॉपिक गोटे आसी दे विल प्रोवाइड मे बी वन माने सेटा इधर पूरा एंटायरली जस्टिफाई कर दे बिकॉज़ सरफेस लेवल ले सेटा जस्टिफाइड लागुतो. They will not think of any counter arguments. Sometimes what will happen is some person also provide some argument, some counter argument, and some counter argument to go back to this point. Now obviously this person will get better marks than this person, and this person will get better marks from this person. ये कि गोटे single way रे ही जिनसे टंग analysis कला. This is the foundation of ethics. Ethics ର foundation itself is हमें दे discuss कलो गोटे philosophical foundation. After all, what is philosophical foundation itself is what? Different type of moral reasoning ही ना. Different type of moral reasoning ही plus difference in philosophical foundation बाहर करे. So if you are not writing the moral reasoning in your answer, then you will get less marks. You should definitely see the same thing from different perspective, or at least try to see कि कोई different way रे जिनसा टा correct ही परियो. I'll give you one last example. Think about lying. बहुत ही basic जिनसा. समस्त कहे कि हाँ lying टा होची सब जगह ठीक नुह. Someone and then will say कि no, in some places it is justified. For example, where is it justified? People will say white lies. Correct. Then you can also give a counter argument. Even white lies cannot be justified. We should better embrace the bitter truth than to have a comforting lie. एमितिया कहे कि counter argument भी कर पारे. So जते depth रे तुम जीवो तुम आंसर टा सेते enrich हे जीवो. Okay. Here you can, for example, केमिति argument दो. तुम कहे कि जने लोक lying itself might be a vice, माने opposite of virtue. But in some cases it is justified. For example, you think कि there is a sick child. ଯାହାକୁ suppose ଗୋଟେ ଛୋଟ ପିଲାଟାକୁ କ୍ୟାନ୍ସର ହେଇଯାଇଛି. Now this child is asking you कि whether am I going to live or not? You know that this child is going to die, but will you say कि नहीं तू तो मरिजु बाबू ଆଉ ମାସେ ପରେ 2 ମାସ ପରେ ମରିଯିବୁ? But you'll say no, of course not. You are going to live. You are going to do well, excellent. This is an example of white lie. Think of another example. Beneficence. We'll say कि beneficence is also example. Harm principle. ଗୋଟେ harm principle ଅଛି. Harm principle ମାନେ ଆମେ ଏମିତିଆ ଡିସିସନ ନବା ଯାହା ଦ୍ୱାରା କାହାକୁ ହାର୍ମ ହବନି और हार्म ଟା मिनिमाइज ହେଇଯିବ. ଗୋଟେ ଭଲ एग्जांपल दिया हुए कि सपोज देयर इज ए एग्जांपल कहंती मैडमैन विथ एन एक्स. थिंक ऑफ गोटे मैड पर्सन गोटे पागल भलिया लागुଛି जे गोटे एक्स धरछि से एक्स रे ब्लड लागिଛି. ओके, एंड से दौड़ी दौड़ी तुम पाखु आसला. से कहला कि बाबू तुम फैमिली कोठी अछंती एबे? एठी अछंती, घर भितर अछंती? तुम तां कोन कहयो? सपोज तुम फैमिली घर भितर अछि, तुम तां कहय हां एठी अछंती? Of course not. So from this situation itself you are able to understand कि what this person is going to do. So एठी यदि तुमे कांत रो डिओन्टोलॉजिकल एथिक्स पकेयो और कैटेगोरिकल इंपेरेटिव पकेई कहयो कि नै कांत तो कहितले कि जहा हेले भी एक्शन इटसेल्फ ऊपर डिपेंड करे. हमर एक्शन टा होची मिछ कहबा, लाइंग टा भलो न तनु लाई कहबी सत्य कहबी. So कोन हबो? Your family will die most likely. So this is an example कि where lying can be justified. Okay. You can take on n number of examples. You can even take example from Mahabharata. You can say this was justified. Then you will say कि no, but finally केमसे मिछ कहथिले बोली से केमती असुविधा रे पड़ले. You can give example of Krishna. So से मिछ कहथिले बोली actually जो just side टा means पांडव साइड जीती हेतले. बट तांको से मिछर तांको भी consequence भोगिया पड़ला. ओके ना? So these are all ways in which these are all examples of moral reasoning. जते हमें moral reasoning करिया different way रे जिनसटा भाबिबा सेते बेटर हमर आंसर हो. Okay. That was my point. Any doubt so far, or else we'll wind up today's class. हमें ऑलमोस्ट ओवरऑल फ्रेमवर्क कोन सब देखि देलु, कोन करियार अछि कोन नै, केमिति आंसर लिखियार अछि, केमिति आंसर एनरिच करियार अछि, लॉजिक कोन यूज करियार अछि. Any other doubt? Otherwise what we'll do is from next class onwards we will move to the knowledge part. So today we were discussing about skill. Okay. From next class onwards, we will move to knowledge part. Yes. Anyone
सर
was
दुईटा
asking?
डाउट
Mhm.
फास्ट है कि जो आपन कहले कि माने जो लेवल्स ऑफ मोरल रीजनिंग फॉर एग्जांपल आमे गोटे आर्गुमेंट देलु देन काउंटर आर्गुमेंट देन काउंटर काउंटर आर्गुमेंट आ त तार हेडिंग केमति रहबो माने तार प्रेजेंटेशन
Depends on the question itself. Suppose free speech versus free speech ଉପରେ ଗୋଟେ ଅଛି. First ହେଲା କି ତମେ କହୁଛ କି free speech is justified. Then you are saying କି no, free speech is not justified. So you can simply say ki justification for free speech. Then you can say ki justification for restricted speech or speech with restriction. Then finally you can write ki counter argument. Okay. Counter argument न लिखिकी you can simply write means counter argument to this जहाँ भी precede कला तार counter argument. Then finally you can write in conclusion एमती लिख परियो in conclusion तमे कौन कहो काउंटर आर्गुमेंट और आर्गुमेंट जो इनिशियल जो आर्गुमेंट थिला ताको रिपीट कर परियो. देखो एटा आंसर सॉरी तुमरो क्वेश्चन नो थीम कौन थिला ता ऊपर डिपेंड करे. से तार कीवर्ड रु तुम बाहर कर दो. कीवर्ड रु बाहर करके आंसर स्ट्रक्चरिंग हो. एटा मु गोटे बहुत ही लेमन टर्म में देली जो भल भल माने क्वेश्चन ने भल भल कीवर्ड थिबो से ताको यूज करके हम स्ट्रक्चर कर परिया.
ओके सर आ गोटे कि जमती जो सेंटिनल इज किलिंग जस्टिफाइड कि नुहे बोली तो सेटा हम जमती कहले कि यू आर अनडिसाइडेड तो से टाइप रो क्वेश्चन रे हमर कंक्लूजन जोटी हमें एक्चुअली अनडिसाइडेड रहबो कि हमहु जणा पड़नी को स्टैंड नेबा था तो सेमती केमती कंक्लूड करू.
वेरी सिंपल मिडिल पाथ नहीं जीवो और तुम कहो अन्य आर्गुमेंट दबो देखो जदि फिलोसॉफिकल आर्गुमेंट रु तुमरो सॉल्व हेई पारो नाही ताले लीगल ग्राउंड रे देखियो. तुम कहो कि ताले फाइनली हमें लॉ रे जहा अछि ताको देखिया कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज देखिया हमर लॉ अगेंस्ट सेटा जाउतला ना सेंटिनली साइलेंट को जिबाटा इटसेल्फ जाउतला. देन सेकंड पॉइंट इज अगेन आई विल टेल यू वन थिंग से ट्राइबल मानको ऊपर ऑल क्रिमिनल लॉज अप्लाई हुए. ट्राइबल माने जदि तुमको मारी देले सेटा तांको ऊपर क्रिमिनल लॉ अप्लाई हो तुम यदि तांको जाके हार्म कलो क्रिमिनल लॉ विल अप्लाई. डू नो दिस और नॉट. इफ यू आर जदि तुम फॉरेस्ट रे जदि टाइगर देखा होची तुम सेल्फ डिफेंस रे टाइगर को मारी देलो you will still be prosecuted under wildlife protection act 1972. टाइगर तुमको मारी देला किए नहीं कि जीवो टाइगर को कोर्ट को टाइगर ऊपर आईपीसी सीआरपीसी लागू होबो नाही. So my point is that that person who violated the law, the law was violated by the Christian missionary. तो आमे कहया कि फर्स्ट कथा जदि मिडिल पाथ नहीं हो नाही फर्स्ट कथा तला जदि अनडिसाइडेड आमे कहया कि मिडिल पाथ देखिया चलो सपोज मिडिल पाथ भी तुम जानि पानु मिडिल पाथ नवाडा ठीक कि न तो फाइनली तुम लीगल कह प्रभु आपन को शरण में पसियली जहां कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लिखा है जहां लॉ रे लिखा है दैट इज आवर फॉर अस दैट इज फाइनल. हमें कहया तो इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ any clear decision out of the moral reasoning we have to resort to the legal provision. In general भी देखो हमें तले केस स्टडी कहया बाय द वे केस स्टडी रो माने न कि हमें खाली फिलोसॉफिकल पर्सपेक्टिव रे एनालिसिस करिया. इनफैक्ट फिलोसॉफिकल पर्सपेक्टिव इटसेल्फ इज ए very less part. Major part will be come from your contemporary things. Contemporary माने law रु आसीबो बेस्ट केस स्टडी रु आसीबो इवन कन्वेंशन रु आसीबो. ओके हमें सब डिस्कस करिया. दिस इज ओनली द बेसिक थ्रू व्हिच वी अंडरस्टैंड द एथिकल फ्रेमवर्क. हियर यू विल से कि लॉ रे एटा अछि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यू हमर एटा अछि ए केस स्टडी रे एटा हेतिला विशाखा केस रे या हेतिला प्रकाश राव केस रे या हेतिला. So these are or even conventionally या हुए. This is for to improve the efficiency of the system. So these can be your grounds. तो केबे भी एमितिया हबो नाही कि एमिते को भी केस आसीबो नाही जहा को कि को ना को ए ग्राउंड रे तमे जस्टिफाई करि परियोनी कि कंक्लूजन नहीं परियोनी को ना को ग्राउंड रे तो कंक्लूड करि ही परियो. ओके राइट नाउ एबे लागु छी इटा डिफिकल्ट बिकॉज़ मु एटा केवल मोरल रीजनिंग ग्राउंड रे कहतली कि आई एम अनडिसाइडेड कि एटा यार आंसर कोन हो ऑन द ग्राउंड ऑफ मोरल रीजनिंग फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन में. लॉ हिसाब रे तो एटा बहुत ही क्लियर कोन होबा कथा कोन लॉ हिसाब से ही वाज किल्ड तो इट्स माने लॉ डज नॉट केयर लॉ विल से कि ही हैड मेड दैट violation of the law and सेटा भी हला ना not a single sentinelist person was convicted or even charged with anything. He died, that person died, topic over. Okay. So anyway guys, that's all for today.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. This is Namrata.
Yes, Namrata.
Sir, actually, this is my first class, and I have just started the preparation a month back, sir. And
Okay.
yes, so sir, মানে যেহেতু মোর এটা ফার্স্ট মানে মু माने गोटे मंथ है जस्ट स्टार्ट करिछि एंड मु गोटे फाउंडेशन कोर्स भी जॉइन करिछि बट दैट वाज फॉर यूपीएससी एंड ओडिसा पार्ट सेतरे किछि नाही दैट्स व्हाई आई जॉइंड कोर्सेस
Okay,
तो
I understand.
आपण माने जेबे नेक्स्ट क्लास करिवे माने आज जेमति कहि दियंते जे नेक्स्ट को टॉपिक ऊपर माने ये हबो देन मु गोटे ओवरऑल आइडिया
Okay,
गोटे
okay.
ये कर दिले
I got it.
I can relate that.
I think that I have not maybe shared that schedule. So I'll share one schedule in the we'll
Okay,
share
sir.
one in the ethics group. Okay, you'll understand कि केबे को class होची कहाँ पर कोटा आसी.
Okay,
So
okay,
that is maybe our mistake. We did not share in the ethics group.
okay,
And
okay. No, sir, I have
that's it.
joined the GS course, not
Okay, you
all
have
the.
done. GS
Yes,
group
sir.
रे अच्छी ना GS group रे से schedule टा अच्छी. I'll send it again. But question होची कि आमे एबे schedule टा टिके change कर दे जो for example polity मझरे चलियो. तो schedule
Yes,
टा exactly follow हो नहीं. But overall you will from that schedule you will be able to understand कहाँ पर कौन
yes,
अच्छी.
yes, I went through that schedule, but the means सेबे सेथरे polity नथिला एबे just जेमति include हेछि
हाँ
सेति
हाँ.
पय
No, no.
last.
Okay, I understand. ठीक है, we'll communicate maybe in a better way in future. Okay, don't worry.
Okay,
The
okay,
second
okay.
part is what you said about beginner, na.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll tell you one thing. First, it about a mental block. Just forget it. From now
Okay,
on, you tell yourself, I'm not a beginner. You are
okay,
not a
okay.
beginner. You are just starting to learn. The difference between starting to learn and beginner is कि here you don't have mental block. You just think कि मते class रे understand करियर अछि पढ़ियार अछि.
Yes,
जिनसा
sir.
तो बहुत ही easy. Okay.
बिल्कुल.
So my point
That
is that
Nilesh sir already told me that means it is. I've already discussed with Nikhilesh sir, and he
very good.
convinced me. That's why I joined the.
This is all about attitude. The champion
Okay.
mindset ଆମେ discuss କରିଥିଲେ. Champion mindset କି କେବେ ବି ଏମିତି feel କରିବନି କି ମୁଁ start କରୁଛି ତ ମୁଁ କିଛି ବୁଝିପାରୁନି କଣ. Rather what you said, you should see कि ମୁଁ କାହିଁକି why I'm unable to understand. Let me work towards it. And then you ask the teacher, sir, kindly explain to me it in a better way. If I'm unable to understand.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a beginner. You just say कि I'm unable to
I
understand.
just
Not because you are a
started.
beginner.
Yes.
It's just a change, it's just a slight change of attitude. But this will help you. तुम निजर confidence रे भी help करियो.
Okay. Okay.
बहुत ही देखो हम पूरा एंटायर कोर्स में हमें बहुत सारे जिनसे सीखे आपको वन इज एटीट्यूड वन इज स्किल वन इज नॉलेज थ्रू
Yes, sir.
आउट
And
एटीट्यूड
these
विल बी
are
बिल्ट अप
yeah, and these are not included in any courses. They have content, they have knowledge, but they have not shared in this type of means how to approach the answer to write the answer. That's why I joined the
यस
courses.
यस ओके ठीक है
Okay.
थैंक यू
Okay.
फॉर योर
Thank
फीडबैक
you. Thank you, sir. Yes.
any other queries or else we'll wind up okay next
Sir,
one thing is that our next class is on Wednesday. Okay, tomorrow I think you have a day off, so again next ethics class is next Wednesday, then after that again next Monday, and from uh, after that there will be next Wednesday, then next Friday, so on and so forth. Okay, because this week we only have two ethics classes, Monday and Wednesday. Yes, someone else was asking.
सर मोर एथिक्स रिगार्डिंग क्वेश्चन आଥିଲା मोर से एसे रिगार्डिंग क्वेश्चन ଥିଲା जो फॉरेस्ट वाला रे तो जेमति कि आपण कहले कि माने पेस्टल अप्रोच रे आपण एक्सप्लेन कले आज रो क्लास रे बट मु जो एसे लिखली माने इकोनॉमी रा माने डिफरेंट डायमेंशन रे पढैतली
Yes,
तो
you had also written nice. See, pastel is not the only approach. This is just a generic approach we had जोथिरे कि जदि हमु किछि आउ आसु नथो ताले हमु कंटेंट जनरेट करया पे हमु गोटे रेडीमेड फ्रेमवर्क अछि. Otherwise the way you had written that was also nice. Okay, I had seen your copy also. किछि असुविधा नहीं,
ओके
किछि
सर
असुविधा नहीं. It's not necessary कि सबला हम pastel ले करिया.
ओके
Pastel कोन गोटे बेदर गार किछि किछि नो. I had given you a generic framework. जदि आउ किछि मन न पड़ला finally pastel is our final friend. Okay,
सर
ठीक है guys. हाँ, go on.
सर ऐसे रिलेटेड डाउट थोड़ा
ऐसे रिलेटेड
सर
अच्छे
जो
बहुत
सर जो
ओके
सर फीडबैक ଦେଇଥିଲେ ସେଇଥିରେ ସାର୍ ପର୍ସନାଲି ଟିକେ ଥିଲା ଯୋଉ ବକ୍ସ
ठीक
ବେସିକ
है
ସାର୍
चलो
ତାକୁ
बस
କେମିତି କମ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ
ठीक है जी इफ एनी आंसर माने इवैल्यूएशन पर भी तुम डाउट होची पर्सनल 1 to 1 हम କଥା ହେଇ जाए rather
ଆଜ୍ଞା
than
ସାର୍
in this class. If you have any doubt you can ask me later. ठीक ठीक है guys, I think that's all for today and we are going to wind up our classes. From next class onwards we will move to the content part, philosophical part. Okay, ठीक है, thank you guys.